Man. Look at all these nunchucks. This is how you know someone's a ninja kid. But you don't have just one nunchuck. You have it's when you have a bunch of nunchucks, like a dozen nunchucks. Half a dozen nunchucks. This is the proof of being a ninja kid. But anyway. Man, it's pretty heavy. So, hello everyone, Myrmonden here. Time for my new kind of streaming here. We'll do it every week. That was the quick stuff, right? You know, jokingly, you know, people call me, you know, sometimes people call me the most interesting man alive and so on, right there. I'm gonna do my tanguins, right? I'm gonna do my little rants and so on sometimes, right? But also, as you might know, I'm quite the man of culture, right? So, this is gonna be my new thing here. Do it once a week at least. You can call it the most interesting man of culture in the world, right? So, I was thinking for a while now, what do I want to start with, right? Like, I start with how I was a teacher at like age 14 and so on, and stuff like that. But I felt, you know, let's do the Ninja Kid. The Ninja Kid is a classic, right? Classic figure, right, in the mythology of Western school system. So was that Ninja Kid at school, right? They always have that really, really hardcore otaku guy. It's like, I'm gonna be like Rock Lee and so on, and they train and do this stuff and so on. And of course, to no one's surprise, that was me, right? Like, I explained to you some funny stories here. My crazy childhood, and of course you can ask questions on, you know, Q&A and so on, right? Yeah. So first of all, while Rock Lee definitely is a big, you know, inspiration, right? I kind of started, I feel, mainly with Dragon Ball, actually. Yeah. So actually, Dragon Ball, of course, I read way before we have Naruto and so on, right? And all of this is going to be, you know, manga and anime gaming oriented, right? Still though. But so what I did, because I wanted to do the you know, the Kami scene or Master Roshi then training with the backpack, is that I, as a kid, I would take my backpack, not this backpack though, but a silver backpack, and I fill it with rocks. I had a backpack at home, and I just completely, you know, fill it with rocks, right? And then I would run or walk at least one circle, like one, you know, loop, right, around the city once a day with this like backpack filled with rocks. So when I was like 11 or 10 or so, I was like, I'm gonna do the Dragon Ball training. I'm gonna do the Dragon Ball training. That's how I started. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this training every day, right? Sounds awesome, having extra weight, right? I actually still do that training to some extent these days. So for example, every time I get home, I always go into the building kind of close where I live. It's like a 25 floor building, and I run up the stairs and down again. I do it once a day, right? At least once a day when I get home. So every time now, then, for example, when I, you know, shop food or whatever, right, for the family, I take my backpack and I run up and down with like a, you know, 10 plus kilogram backpack, right, every day, right? Yeah, of course I do that. Started doing this thing then, and then actually I had a friend then in junior high school, and he had this idea that, you know, why use our lockers, right? He was like, why have all our books in the locker when instead we can have the books in our backpacks? So I had one backpack with rocks at home, and then at school then I had another backpack with all the books and, you know, papers on, right? And so yeah, all the language, all the stuff like that in this one backpack, me and him. So I walk around with this backpack at school then. They weighed probably around 10 or so kilograms, right? This, you know, completely filled book backpack for some bonus training, right? For some bonus training. The next thing I did then, of course, I haven't said really, but to an obvious extent, right? I've been doing martial arts as a kid, and I've been competing in, you know, like taekwondo, judo, you know, taijutsu, taido, karate, and so on, right? Man, or martial arts, aido, and so on. And so one thing then that really took me, so it's like a life question here, is that when I was training in taekwondo, and I was 14, my teacher told me that, okay, if you want to be the best, because I really wanted to be the best, right? I wanted to be the best in taekwondo. He told me that you have to do at least 100 sit-ups and push-ups every day, right? So then I started doing that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do at least 100 push-ups and so on every day before I go to bed and so on, right? And hello there, why yes, why to anime, yeah. So I started doing that, and then, you know, when I was then thinking, how can I maximize my martial art training? How can I be like, that's why I have the stuff. How can I be like a Black Clover, you know, main character? I started doing that. So when I was 14, so I really was the ninja kid at school. Truly was. So when I was 14, then I started to do push-ups and sit-ups. So I would be a guy that was like, you know, 10 minute break, right, between math and like English or whatever, right? I would go out there and I would do my sit-ups. And I would do sit-ups Because I was like, I need to do at least 500 sit-ups per day. I need to do at least 200 push-ups per day and so on. So I would go out and I would do like push-ups and sit-ups, and we call it the flying push-up, whatever it's called, and so on. I would do this stuff during all the breaks at school. Yeah, so I really was that guy. Right? I was a crazy guy. That to me was one of my absolute favorite Ninja Kid moments. Which was beautiful. And anyway, let's soon here to get one last point here before I go into more diverse thing, before I answer questions here. And that is, of course, the next step of being a Ninja Kid, which is really true when you watch the title here of this video is. And that is, of course, that I started doing these things right. So I started to actually, being inspired by Naruto and also Dragon Ball and so on, I really did go for this kind of weight training. Yeah, so this is really true. So I actually so when I was 15, so this is the last year of junior high school, I went and bought this kind of weights. Yeah, so I went and bought these kind of things, right? And then I actually would have these things on me, like wristbands, and on my leg too. So I would walk around with that for so like 14 and a half, 15 until I actually was into college. So I have literally lived this life of having those extra weights on my body, right? Wristband, armband training, and also on my legs, then on my ankles, for about 4 years or so of my life actually. So yeah, this is the body you get if you do that weight training. But no, but it's true. There's one thing, of course, you can't really see on YouTube, but I can really show it here anyway. Which one effect of that? The negative effect. I'm sorry saying the negative, right? Okay, so the negative effect, one thing happened to me then as I was 14, probably like 16 or so, is that I have a huge amount of scars here. Okay, so you can't really see it on YouTube, right? If I flex up here, but like here, my body here, you can't see it on the channel here, but here, the shoulder pad here, I am like massively stretch marks. Yeah, it's like I got really big shoulders, right? Yeah, so my shoulders here really expanded, right? When I was 15, 16, and going with 4 kilogram weights up to 8 kilogram weights every day, right? When I was at school, and I was training and so on, and I just got like a massive scars from that. So that's a negative side. I grew too quickly doing this Rock Lee, Dragon Ball kind of training style. My body just exploded in like size here, and also then kind of like my ankles too. Then. So I have very stiff ankles. That's a good question though. Yeah, why did I stop? I actually stopped in the reason that, which is kind of sad, I guess, because I got like, I want to be a kid. I don't care about people's opinions and so on. That's a good question. I can take it immediately here. Also, negative side of the course. Of course, being the super ninja and anime otaku guy, right? Of course, you get bullied and so on, right? I didn't care about that at all. I never cared about being bullied and so on. People didn't affect me, right? I'm old, right? So growing up in my age, I was the only guy playing, video games. I was the only guy buying manga and anime, right? You only had one manga, it was like Dragon Ball as a kid, right? And so on. So of course I really cared about that. But I actually stopped then because, so I did it, weight training, until I went to college, right? So I went to college, I was going to move to another place, right? And then I was in really good shape for the band, right? I was in really good shape, like a perfect 8-pack, stomach muscles, and so on. I looked pretty good, I have to say myself. Quite, exercised, right? And I was thinking that I really don't care about people, the feelings and so on, but it's probably easier, going to college and not walking around in this weight gear up all the time at college. It's probably easier doing it at home, because then I probably can get friends or a girlfriend or whatever. It's probably easier, right? It's probably easier. It's probably easier doing that. So I stopped it for a while. I started college, and then actually second year of college. One of my best friends, then my senpai at college specifically here, him and me, because he wanted to learn some kenjutsu, of course, sword skill, right? So him and me, we actually would fight at college. for the first year, I was like, I should probably try to look normal, try to not be too much of a nerd, right, or whatever, or train too much. I regret it now, of course, who cares about people being, right? But second year actually, me and this guy, we bought 2 shinais, which is the kendo sword, right? And then we would actually fight at like lunch breaks. We would go out and be like, we would have our duels during college at the college park and so on. College has a lot of area, right? So if you go out to like a college park or a college next to our building, had a very, very good like flat wood area. Like a heightened flat wood area. We fight in that wood area. We would climb up on this like hilltop, like a wooden hilltop, and we would fight on that hilltop on lunch breaks every day. So for 1 year here, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to look like a normal person or something, like a non-ninja guy, and then I was like, full ninja. I was made it even worse. But that's the point, because then I met someone at college that was as crazy as me. He was like, oh, we should do martial arts fights every day at school. And I was like, yes, that's awesome. So we would do that stuff. We would go to fight instead, actually. And we would do, all the wrestling and so on as well, right? We would do that, or we would play Guilty Gear. Like, we were into Guilty Gear, so we would play Guilty Gear is like a fighting game, right? We would play fighting games, or we would do fighting in real life, right? So then I went back doing it again. Then I kind of, did it back and forth and so on during my life, right? But yeah, but that's kind of typical me. So I did this stuff all the time. I wrote a good ninja kid story I have, which I read a book once about people compare these things. Is that when I went to senior high school then, so I was wearing this weight thing, right? And I was saying the thing too for that matter. I was wearing the Rock Lee, the weight stuff and so on, right? I was doing it all the time. So for example, except when I was showering and so on, right? So when I was into like playing soccer, right? Football at school, right? I was still wearing those, right? Playing basketball, I was still wearing the 8 kilogram per arm, 60 kilogram per leg, right? During the whole of senior high school. So obviously at the beginning, you start out, you're pretty slow, right? And then you get faster and faster, right? And I was working that so on. But one thing I did then was I was pretty comedically linear. But of course, I was like, wow, I hate that. I don't care. But, so when we went to the third grade, so this is the last year, 12th year in total, it's called the third year of school I went to. We had our lockers, stuff like that, where my class was hanging around and so on, at the bottom floor of the school, and there's like a special exit there, kind of hard to explain, but there's like an extra exit there, like an escape exit, whatever. If you left that exit, I was going to like a pretty new built school, so they had this kind of pond, and they had like these rocks and so on. So as you can imagine, I was like, whoa, these rocks, they are perfect for balance training. So I would walk out there as the ultimate ninja school kid. I would go out on lunch break and so on. I would do like push-ups and that. Then I would jump around on these rocks, right? And I'm like, it's balance training. And I would jump around and kicking on these rocks right every day. Needless to say, right, I was very popular among my classmates. They were like, that guy is clearly a functional person. It was pretty hilarious. But the thing is that, I had like perfect grades. Right? I went to like this, I say it, famous private in the university in my home country, right? I had like A+ grades and so on. So I mean, I could do whatever I want, right? I don't care, right? So that the teacher would stop me, right? It's like, whatever, that guy is crazy, yeah, like whatever, let's do something, right? There's also like an anime question on the side then, because I will do more of this course next week. I'm gonna talk about how I was a high school teacher being in high school. That's one of my favorite moments of my life. So I'll give you the spoiler here then, but I was very good at math specifically. So I was like, when I was 6 years old, I was already doing high school math. So when I was in high school, I was a math teacher. That'll be the next video. But anyway, yeah, that's the questions. So good anime. Going back to what you mentioned here, right? One of my favorite animes of all time is Kaji, right? I'll say it every time. Always people there. I'm always saying Kaji, right? Kaji is the best anime ever, and unfortunately, most people haven't seen it. And Kaji is one of those animes. Talking about here on this live stream here, that with my life is the one experience of being me or whatever. That Kaji is an anime that I've seen, and then I have used Kaji, the knowledge of seeing Kaji, that I would really like, because episode 1 in Kaji, Kaji has an interview with some guy, right, trying to trick him to go to this on the boat, right, and then the guy gets a phone call. It's like a fake phone call, and it's like, oh, you got someone else. It's like, oh, Kaji, you better take the deal now, because this phone call is like, important, I'm gonna, that's like the trick, right, to incentivize you to take their deal, because they're getting a phone call, and that phone call is telling them that they can, do something else right there. So, for example, in real life, I have experienced that moment. I had an interview with a game company once in my life. It's about 6 years ago. And during the interview, this is like the design interview, right? Like, I want to be working, blah, blah. The guy gets a phone call. He's like, oh, yes, that other guy you talked to yesterday, oh, he wants the job. Maybe we should hire him instead, That was kind of strange. But in my mind, I am thinking honestly, Kadji. Like in my mind, I'm like, this is exactly like in Kadji. So I was like, F this guy, yeah. They tried to trick me with this shit, yeah. So I was like, that's a Kadji. Oh, it's gonna be a favorite anime, right? For so many reasons. But I think Kadji is so good because all of this like philosophy and the mental tricks and so on in Kadji is in reality. People try to do this in reality too, right? And I was like, you can't trick me, man. I've seen Kadji. I'm immune to your deception. But yeah, hola amigo. What can I say more about all this stuff, man? It helped me. I'll say this thing. It helped me go back to the ninja school. It helped me being a ninja kid that my mother was working at hospital. So my mother, I won't say too much here, but she's a crazy woman in the sense that she's very, very, I guess, I wouldn't say tomboy, but in that direction, my mother is very big fan of like, Rambo and Terminator and so on. And she likes to watch this like bloody action and stuff like that. So, and she works then at the hospital at some, with healing people, right? And she's like, oh, look at this wound and so on. So I think it helped me being that ninja kid because I would literally come home sometimes and be like bleeding on my knees or whatever. Like, I was like, oh, I need this tree for 3 hours or something, right? I would come home with that, right? Do some crazy stuff. And then my mom would be like, oh, interesting, I can see your bone in your knee. How cool, we're gonna have to this thing? Yeah, so my mom would be like, huh, it's interesting. I can see your bone pipe sticks out. That's pretty cool. Stuff like that. So I think that helped being a ninja kid, that your mom, instead of being like, oh, let's be stupid, stop doing this, she was like, yes, this is quite intriguing. So that helps, right? One story I have, I showed the nunchucks earlier, and I have a lot of nunchucks, right? I have so many nunchucks. This is a dragon nunchuck for that matter, right? Bruce Lee style nunchuck, yeah. This is a very bad nunchuck, so this nunchuck here, it has some symbols and so on, but it's also too big. Okay, so a normal nunchuck, it's about your length here, right? And it's kind of about your length in your elbow. But this nunchuck here is way longer, right? And the chain is way longer. So this is what they call. If you ever seen Club Bebop, he says it's in Club, yeah. This is the Bruce Lee fake nunchuck thing, that it has too long chain, so it looks cooler on the TV, but it's really hard actually to capture it. And this is like a lead tool, like with the steel lead things, it's really hard too, so it's freaking dangerous. But anyway, one of my actual favorite ninja stories has to do with a nunchuck. So as a kid, right, of course you train with the nunchuck, right? You do the nunchuck things, hard doing sitting down, but you get the point, right? You do the Michelangelo, of course I was a big Turtle fan. So you do the nunchuck thing, right? And I have never, genuinely, honestly, I would never hit myself in the family duels. Never happened to me. It's one of those classic you see in the movies, right? The American, the ninja movies. Never happened to me ever. Never happened to me ever. I've never seen it happen when I actually get hit in the, yeah. But what happened to me as a kid, it's a classic ninja kid story then. And also, my mom being like, oh, that's pretty cool, is that when I was a kid, I was 14, I think, 14, 15, I hit my elbow. Okay, that happened. Okay, so I hit my elbow, right, with a nunchuck. That happens a lot, hitting your elbow, right? I train with the nunchuck, right? Happens a lot, right? Yeah. Hit my elbow, hit the funny bone in my elbow, right? Super, extremely painful, because the funny bone makes it like, oh yeah, paralyzed, yeah. So it's bleeding a bit at my elbow. But I was like, whatever, it's fine. It didn't feel that bad. It's like, I hurt a little bit, I'm in the hospital. But then I went to bed then. So I went to bed. And when I woke up, I was like, my whole bed was just like a Godfather scene, right? My whole bed was like, holy shit. It was like my hand has like leaked the whole night. So my whole bed was like red, right? Yeah, it was crimson colored. The sheets, yeah. I was like, it was my period. Yeah, that was like, it's just, the complete thing was red. It was this kind of color here, right? This one. The whole bed. And I looked at my arm, I was like, maybe it was worse than I thought. But it never hurt me. That's the weirdest thing too. Like I woke up there and I'm like, holy shit, it's so much red. I've been lying in bed, you move and you sleep, right? So I've been like, this, like red everywhere, completely. And I was like, it doesn't hurt though. So I was like, whatever, I go to school. And I left, I was like, whatever. Mom can deal with that, and I just went to school. But that's one of those classic thing where you wake up, right, and you're like, oh shit, what happened there? So yeah, this is my training arc. Actually, one other story I have. This story I tell people a lot of times. being a martial artist, right? And have a few black belts, and I've been training for a lot of years. Probably do a continued video talking about that. So I had my first dojo when I was 17, right? I had a black belt when 17, then I was teaching at the dojo. I just started training people when I was 13 at judo. So what I did was that I would actually... So we didn't have judo in my hometown, but my teacher at school, like the teacher at school, sensei at school, he was also the sensei, the judo teacher, sensei then, in another city. So he would drive after school to go to the dojo, right? It's the next city, and I would go with him. So I would take a ride with my actual sensei, double sensei, so to speak, and get to the judo, which sounds probably kind of weird, right? My teacher picking me up, right? Like picking up a 12-year-old boy, yeah. But whatever. So my teacher would drive me and so on, but he trained both the adults and the children, right? So I was like 12, 13. And that's like the first time I got into like actually teaching martial art, because then I would be teaching these kids, right, judo then, because I was there like before my training started, right, and so on. So I've been doing martial art teaching for many years, and so on, right. So I've done a lot of training arts, and I've seen and tried to pick other people in training arts and so on. But anyway, one of my favorite training injury moments, back to this elbow thing, like I'm a big ninja kid here, is that I was training Muay Thai, right, or Thai boxing, right, which is one of the most effective martial arts, and you do a lot of elbows, when it's knees and so on, right, and I was doing Muay Thai against my trainer. So one thing I would tell you guys, which I always recommend people to be, if you want to be a martial artist, is to be the receiver, right? Like the uke, yeah, the guy that takes the damage, right? If you know your yaoi stuff, right? So like if you do martial art, you enter the dojo, you're probably gonna notice that if you haven't done before, that the sensei usually has their one favorite student, right? So if let's say you are, 10, 16-year-olds, right? You have your 25-year-old sensei, right? It's gonna have that one guy that he always beats up on, right? Which in this sense sounds like, what? He's always picking this guy? That seems kind of bad. No, but you want to be that guy. You want to be the guy that's a receiver. Think about it in yaoi, boy love here. No, but you want to be the guy that takes the receivement, because that is the sensei telling you that you are the best student there, so you can probably survive the damage. You can show him and so on, right there. So I have always been that guy, basically. In any motion I've done, I've been that guy, taking all the damage, taking all the brute force, right? So we're doing in Muay Thai and Thai boxing, back to this thing then. And my teacher and me were sparring, kind of in front of people. We were kind of fighting, And he broke my nose. So I broke my nose. I was 17, I think, yeah. Broke my nose. But similar to the elbow thing, so I think it's like pretty cool, in my opinion, ninja story. I never noticed that my nose was broken, You're so into the fight that I was fighting this guy, the same thing when I fight in tournament, right? And I was like, oh, what happened? So in that sense, though, when I see animes, I think some people are complaining about animes, like, oh, there's no way that kid would be able to ignore his arm being, a lot of people, I think, when they look at anime, or just anime, but live action or whatever, but also animes, right? And they say there's no way someone could, fight that pain and whatever, and this thing, and people can't fight that good and so on. But I think that's bullshit, because mostly in real life, if you're in a real fight, right, you actually can kind of, ignore all the pain and so on. Your adrenaline gets to it, right? Of course, anime is quite exaggerated, but it's kind of that. If you're really into a fight, you're like, I have to win no matter what, right? You can't ignore everything else. So he broke my nose, but I never noticed that my nose was broken. I never even understood my nose was broken during this sparring here. And then the head trainer, so we had two, this is a sensei and the other, the grandmaster kind of guy. He was like, oh no, actually stop it now. After like a minute, you're really bleeding. You're blood everywhere. I was like, bleeding? There's no blood. And I was like, I feel fine. I was like, I'm fine, bro. I fucking win this. He's like, oh, blood everywhere. And I was like looking down, and I looked down, and it was like a huge amount of, the crimson liquid, everywhere. On the floor. So I've been like bleeding for a while, and I was like, oh, cool. And my clothes were like, I was like, blood here. I was like, interesting. So then we just went outside and took some, the nose thing and so on, and I was like, I feel fine. and it never hurt me. Like I never felt any pain. I didn't feel pain that day. I didn't feel pain the next day either. I was like, it's broken, whatever, it doesn't hurt. So I was like, it's fine. So that's why some of the reasons, when I look at anime, like Naruto or whatever, any kind of fighting animes, Black Clover, we're in Clover now and so on. And I see people fighting, and they're like, they're fighting through that pain and so on. I'm like, I can live with that. I don't think it's overkill sometimes. I mean, of course, sometimes it's like he lost 3 arms or something, and they keep fighting. It doesn't make any sense. But for the most time, it's like, man, having been in a lot of fights, and also just having that kind of stuff, I'm like, man, if you have maximum adrenaline, and it doesn't have to be martial art. It can be, if you're playing football or whatever as well, right? But I think especially in martial art, because you have, and one thing I used to tell people as a sensei, when I train people, especially because I have spent, I'll say many years, but a few years training, self-defense for females and so on, right? And one thing, especially even more importantly there, because I think unfortunately, self-defense for women then is usually pretty bad. Like they don't really teach them, how to be a good fighter, right? And the reason why usually is because my first point to teach someone to fight is to always be ready to take damage. Like that's the first. You should always be the best thing you can do if you enter like the ring to fight someone, right? Is to be like, he's gonna punch me in the face, I'm gonna punch him back harder. Like that's how you must be, because the worst thing to be, I'm sure it's also with Asta, because the worst thing to be in a fight is that someone punches you suddenly and you lose, control. You're like, what happened to me? Yeah, that's the worst thing. That's when an ambush is quite effective, right? Because the shock value of being ambushed by someone is very, very high. If you enter an actual fight, knowing you're gonna fight someone, you have to be mindset that this guy's gonna hurt me, and it's gonna hurt my arms, or my legs, or my face, probably my arms because I don't block a lot. And you have to, fight through that, right? You have to fight through that. So that's why I always tell people, especially then, it's like a side note then, but when you do train these self-defense courses, they unfortunately are like, if a man grabs you like this, just do this shit and then you can defend yourself. And I'm like, man, this is stupid. Like, no. If a man grabs you like this, you're gonna feel a lot of pain, and then you're gonna have to, fight through that pain to not get more pain. You have to defeat the pain, right? Yeah, and defend yourself from worse pain, right? That's how you should think. You shouldn't think like, well, no, like I'm gonna be perfectly, fixing it through, right? That's my first lesson. Always when I train people, I'm almost like, this is my sensei number 1 lesson. You have to always consider what's gonna happen and think that what is the worst case scenario. I'm gonna not get the worst case scenario, but being pragmatic, I will probably get punch or kick a few times, right? I have to not take the damage, right? Or at least take the damage in your arm and legs, right? Well, I mean, and on the channel, on this channel here, I'm mainly do manga and anime, right, and of course gaming, and we do both reviews and reactions, right. So, for example, yesterday we did a stereo review. That's really good, I think. A lot of views, I think, and also of course the reaction, right. So I kind of do both, right. I don't really think that, but there is one thing to do with more than one channel thing, which is I don't think necessarily this channel here, because I usually get monetized. So I think it's fine here actually. I think if you have a YouTube channel, this is a very side note here then, but I think if you have a YouTube channel and you constantly, YouTube is like, then you probably has a bad listing, right? So that's true. Because if you know it, right, this is another video I suppose, but my education is primarily in computer science, right, and human behavior. So from like an algorithmical standpoint, right, it's very easy to list and delist and so on, different channel and words and so on, right. So my channel is like, I think pretty fine, because I usually get the green as a big symbol from YouTube, unless if I do like man of culture stuff. Yeah, I'm usually pretty fine until I do something like this, right? Then I'm not fine anymore. But as long as I'm staying, in like this reasonable, yeah. But I don't have a lot of friends in all the channels, right? When they constantly get like the yellow sign or even worse, and that means that you probably are, the computer algorithm is against you, right? Then it's probably better making a new channel completely, right? But here instead, I don't know. I, as an aim here, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning live stream, I'm gonna aim to do this kind of stuff once a week at least. This kind of like talking about some crazy experience of my life, something kind of funny, of course, and then I'm gonna keep doing like reviews and so on, right? One Piece reviews and so on, happened tomorrow, right? And then also some gaming, right? I've been lacking on the gaming now a bit, because I don't know, like this year I've reviewed like Persona 5, I used some other RPG games, right? I have the aim of doing mostly RPGs. Like I mentioned in my last week, is that one video that's coming here is that JRPG games are very anime, right? And I think that in my age group, at least in my demographic, the reason why I think I get into anime manga in the first place is actually, JRPG games, right? I say that every time, right? But these kind of games, right? That's how you get into liking the Japanese culture to begin with, right? So I'm doing that reviews too here. I'm actually currently playing Blade edition. I'm always beating it now, but the problem is that the reason why I am not I don't see myself as a bad reviewer at all. I see myself as a incredibly overkill when I do a review. So when other game sites, they do a review right the first day they come from. They're playing the game and I start a review. I play the first 3 hours. This game is great, but yeah, I do the opposite. I only do reviews of the games when I'm beating the game. So currently I'm playing Blade. I'm up at like 130 hours or so, and I haven't done a review yet because I want to beat the game 100%. Then I do a review. so I'm like the worst reviewer. I'm like super slow. I'm like, I get the review to you when you are super slow. I do Twitch gaming. I used to stream on Twitch when I play different games, right? But currently, as I mentioned, I'm playing a Switch game, and I'm too lazy to get one of those like recording things so you can stream on Switch. So I play PS4 and so on. So where I stream stuff on YouTube, right? So I think I see Fantasy both on Twitch and YouTube, right? And also the Mana game and so on. Persona 5 is probably the latest game I stream on Twitch, right? Very waifu game at Persona 5, yeah. A lot of I have it here, right? A very waifu focused game. But that's the last time I think I streamed on Twitch, like when I was new, yeah. So I do Twitch streaming when I have when I have a new game to play, right? That I'm interested in. So it's kind of like, but it's definitely mostly waifu games. Certainly mostly waifu games. But anyway, yeah, ninja. That's an interesting question because I have a lot of friends that are like, you should do, ninja martial arts stuff and so on. And the reason I felt I haven't done, because I think it would be kind of fun to do a few like martial art movies or YouTube links, is because I need to have like a good person to be. I need another person, unfortunately, yeah. Because I have friends and so on, but where I live currently, I have no friends that can actually fight. And I would need to move back home or move once right where I have someone. And of course, I could probably find someone if I really try to. But I think that would be the biggest thing. I would need to find someone to be like, okay, this is the ability. I can show you the abilities. There's one thing for that matter, right? I trained taijutsu or ninjutsu for many years, and taijutsu as a martial art doesn't really have much. Yes, you do have the weapons, right? You have the weapons, right? You have all the crazy stuff, right? You have all the the Death Stars. You have all the the throwing stars. You have all the shit, right? But mostly, actually, when you train at taijutsu, what you do is actually that you train different arm breaks and different like locks and throws. It is mainly a martial art focusing on like, okay, I grab you grab my hair, and I grab your arm, and I break your fingers. It's kind of like focus on that, right? So it's a martial art where you'd really need to be two people to actually show the skills. It's not actually that much jumping around with a sword or throwing Death Stars. It's more like, here's how here's someone kicks me, then I break his leg. That's more how actually ninjutsu actually as a martial art. It's much more like submission and takedowns and so on. Yeah, much more like that, right? Same with like judo, right? And other like soft martial art, like jutsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, as I trained many years too. They all really require you to have another person, right? Taekwondo is a martial art you just kind of show it. You do kicks, you do flip kicks and butterfly kicks. So yeah, that's the martial art you kind of flip around. That's the martial art, and kickboxing I guess to some extent too, where you kind of just do this stuff. But yeah, so from a ninja story then, that's kind of the path I moved as a martial artist. I kind of started with like taekwondo and judo, went into Muay Thai, kickboxing instead, well not instead, but did it at the same time, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then I went into like mainly taijutsu. So I kind of walked from the I will punch kick you in the face into with some throws into even more kicking and punching you in the face into just completely, I will lock you down instead with different holds and submission instead with Taijutsu and so on. Similar martial arts, and then I've done basically every goddamn martial art you can find in between, like kung fu and so on. But I haven't done them like for 6 years, but like for maybe like half a year or so. So I've tried them all. What I did, especially when I moved to university and college, is that I would just go to every goddamn dojo like the first year. I went to like 20 dojos and I trained all of them. I was like, this dojo, this dojo, this dojo. And then eventually after the first year I was like, okay, I'm staying with Taijutsu, that has the best trainer, has the best dojo in this city. It's like I just went through all of them to find like where I want to train, right? Both style-wise, technique style-wise, but also like, okay, because you go to a dojo and well, on paper this is pretty good, and then the head trainer is like a complete moron, right? As in reality, yeah, as in everything in reality, right? You get to the company like, this company has a really good resume, it's a really good gaming they're making, whatever, right? You get to the company like, oh my god, the boss here is a complete moron. Like I can't work with this guy. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's the same thing in a dojo, right? You go around and you meet different people, and if you spend time at different dojos, you're gonna see that there's all different kind of skills, right? You have guys that are very good, but they can't teach. That's one thing, right? Not much of me. You have a guy that fairly, I guess, is good at explaining stuff, but they're actually really bad fighters. That's kind of funny. They exist, right? And you have both. They are both a bad fighter and they can't explain. It's the worst kind, right? And so on, right? And then you also have annoying, right? And everything in between, right? So I think that's a problem generally, of course, with any kind of dojo martial art, right? There's a lot of people that are really bad. They are really bad, and there's so many martial arts too where you fight someone and it's like, man, this is useless. There's so many martial arts. I'm not gonna say many names now, but I mean, you have a couple of martial arts that are like, what are they doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense. If you see them fight and you're like, you're gonna fight them in like a sparring, like an MMA fight, and you're like, what's this guy doing? Like this, like what's he doing? This doesn't do anything. Yeah, that's very very common. And unfortunately, one classic thing you see, especially with like teenagers or one, is that they have a very flashy, they're like, oh, I can do this kick. And you're like, yeah, that's very flashy, but you have no balance. So if I block you, you're gonna fall down. I think that's actually the most classic issue people have, is that they have these kicks, right, that are very graphical, they're very flashy, right? They kind of fly over it to one. The problem with those kind of kicks in actual fight is that they do have high damage, like they kind of have the body weight with them, right? So they have high damage. But if you do them, they kind of flip around in the backyard. Okay, it works because they can do that, right? But if you actually fight someone and they just block you, right? If you try to kick me with that, and I'm a very big fat guy, right? I just block that, you're gonna fall down because yeah, like that kick only works as long as someone's next standing in the way, right? So even if so at best case scenario, you kick me in the face and you fall down, I fall down because I took damage, right? But most of the cases, I will just block it and you're gonna fall down and lose balance. And the first thing you do in martial art is never lose balance, right? That's the worst thing in any fight. Never lose your balance. So that's the most biggest thing, right? Especially if you fight like a judo guy or a jutsu guy or a taijutsu guy, when they're good at grappling you, then you're screwed up because they get you on the ground, you're toast. That's the worst thing. So that's horrible. So there's a lot of martial arts when they kind of flash around, and also because a lot of people have been in taekwondo, not taekwondo for many years, is that taekwondo works pretty well as a defense thing, but they also have those flashy abilities, and then you see a lot of people, they are focusing on those kicks that are actually not effective, but they look cool, right? And then they actually fight them, and you're like, man, this guy's useless. He's doing way too much crap, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of life lesson there. But I was that crazy ninja kid, right? Once I was in a tournament once in taekwondo, and I broke my arm basically. Dislocated my arm or something like that, my right shoulder in the semi-finals. But I was like the karate kid. I was like, I will fight anyway. So yeah, I was that guy. I was like, I will fight anyway. I don't need my arm. I got 2 legs. Yes, I was that guy. I was like, oh, I'm gonna fight. My trainer was like, no, you're gonna give up. I was like, no, no, I keep fighting. So I was that guy, right? I was that guy that was like, yeah, I won arm less. Whatever, who cares? I'm gonna enter you and fight you anyway. For example, last year I broke 2 fingers, right? If you saw my Vinland Saga reaction review, it's kind of funny because a character just lost his 2 fingers. Like the same, yeah. And it was really funny because like I think like 2 days before I watched that villain episode when one character loses 2 fingers, and he looks similar to me in reality, right? Yeah. I broke 2 fingers, I didn't lose them, but it was kind of like fitting timing for that videos. And I was gonna review that scene. I was like, oh yeah, I also had lost 2 fingers suddenly. And the thing is that in Vinland Saga 2, side note, I said last year, right? Everyone looks like my family, right? It's a Viking anime. Everyone looks like my family. Like the main guys, that's like my dad, right? My dad has his beard. My dad has like a huge beard and so on. So like my father. My uncle's name is Leif, like the Uncle Leif in Vinland Saga. My aunt's name is Ylva, like his sister or mother or whatever in Vinland Saga. So they all have those names, right? Ylva means wolf in... Ylva is like the female version of wolf in Swedish. Ulv is the male version. Ylva is like a female wolf, and so on, right? So pretty, common name in Sweden, right? And so on. But anyway, back to the ninja part. So I kind of had that mentality, right? The kind of shonen fighting, the Asta mother mentality, right? So I broke my 2 fingers going to work last year. And we have a gym at work. So we had a nice gym at the office in the basement, but really big actually. And I went to the office. I was there first. I used to come very early, it's like 6 in the morning, so on. I just went to the office, got this first aid stuff. I took it on my finger, I wrapped it around my hand. It's like, it works, it's fine. I can still work. I have the fingers are fine. They're sticking on this side. And then at lunch break, at 1 hour lunch break every time I work at the gym. I went to the gym and I'm like, okay, I need to exercise, okay. But I couldn't close my hands. So I was like, I can't, I couldn't do my dumbbells. I was like, I can't close my hand. I was like, it's pretty hard because my hand's there. So I took that first aid tape, right? I took the first aid tape like that, and I just wired it around my hand. So I took the tape, the dumbbell, and I was like, this is fine. And then I could lift it because, obviously I had my taped it into my hand. I was like, this is fine. This is how I do it. You kind of have that ninja mentality right in your head, right? I really think so, because I keep acting like that. At the same time, 2 years ago, literally the same week, I broke my fingers, but 1 year before then, I broke my 2 of my toes. And then, of course, immediately I'm like, whatever, I'm going to work tomorrow. I'm just going to have my hand bow as my pole or something. I can use jump on one leg. It's fine, right? You get that mentality. Actually, once as a kid, I had my Achilles heel, my Achilles tendon sliced open, so I couldn't walk for half a year or so. And I say I couldn't walk, I couldn't walk, correctly. So I would jump around on one leg, and I would learn to be like, I could balance my one leg. So I was like, it's fine, I can just do this balance thing, right? And actually, I have a very good balance, especially on my left leg and my support leg, right? And that comes from loosening the Achilles heel, because I had to learn to basically stand on one leg, right, for a long time. So I had an automatic intro to becoming that kind of, having that kind of fighting style, right, the kind of kicking fighting style. And it's kind of funny because I was training one martial art where you are allowed to capture the other guy's legs and so on, hitting you. So we was training that amount there, and capturing the leg and so on, right. People did it to me. I was like, whatever, I can just jump on other legs. So I just jump and I kick the other leg. I was like, technique is useless. It only works if you're bad balance, right? But it's kind of like that. A lot of techniques are surprisingly bad if the other guy can fight or have really good balance. A lot of martial is that they have man, this technique is horrible. For example, one technique I think is very bad or not very bad, but depending on the context, it's quite bad. So it's the different motorenges, which isn't like the Rock Lee stuff. It's not the you have the you have the Rock Lee stuff, right? Which is and here's the motorenge, right? But actual abilities, like to have similar name, exist in Taijutsu, right? It has the same name like his ability, but they don't look like it's more like I get your hand and I break it. It's kind of like that. Yeah. It has the same name. It is literally a technique called Umushi no Renge, like a motorenge, so like Renge is his combo, but it's the same Japanese word, but it's a very different ability. It doesn't even look the same, remotely the same. But anyway, this Taijutsu ability called a renge, a combo, right? And we can grab their arm, we can break it downwards, behind them. That technique, it's very, very good against people that cannot fight. Like that's actually how a lot of martial arts are. This is a perfect technique. You see people using it usually, like like a bouncer and so on, right? Like they kind of push out the cops and so on. Yeah, they kind of have someone down. They're kind of doing stuff like that a lot of time. They kind of grabbing your arm, you know, kind of detaining you and so on, right? And you get a lot of pain basically. This technique is really bad actually because it just gives you a lot of pain as the other guy receiving it, right? You use a lot of pain, right? So it works good against like civilians or someone that's like a little drunk and so on, right? You know, bunch them out, right? So it works good there. But in actuality, if you do it in like a dojo or someone in a tournament, they can fight back to my nose thing and so on. It's completely useless because they are like, you hurt in my hand, whatever. You know, yeah. My hand hurts a lot. I could punch with my other hand. It's kind of like that, yeah. Like, well, I don't care about the pain, right? So I think a lot of martial art is kind of like that. I think finally, especially this, you know, arm grapples and some throws and so on. You're like, well, if they don't care about the pain, the technique doesn't work. So they ignore the pain. So that's also kind of just being the ninja kid, because then when I went into Taijutsu, for example, right, in the Ninjutsu and Taijutsu and so on, I was doing that for many years, competing in it. Many techniques, especially when I was younger then, right, and kind of like a lower rank belt, right, so you fight simply with a lower rank belt. But I had already a black belt. So it's kind of cheating because I already had 2 black belts. I started doing Taijutsu, so I was already an experienced fighter, but I had to still, you know, take the path, you know, for being like, you know, white. They only have green belt things. They have white and they have green and black. So you have white belt, and then you have, you know, green belt, and then you have like green 2, green, like it's like you just go green. So which also is stupid in a sense, because if you meet someone in the dojo or you fight someone, we both have green. It's like it doesn't really tell you. They actually how in my dojo in the general region there is that we have stars on your here you put stars here, and every star was then like 1 green belt. So you had, you know, star. Then you got that like the Dragon Ball the symbol have a dragon basically. Yeah, that's like I think 4 belt thing. Yeah, you were allowed to have that kind of symbol, the Budo symbol. That's like 4 or 5 green belts, and then you got another 4 or 5 stars. But I then, because I'm a deceptive ninja kid, because I'm a real ninja, so you had the option to have these stars or not, according to the rules, right? But it was like frowned upon not to have your stars, right? Because that's like, you know, it's a rude, right, to not have your actual grade. But I was like, screw it, I'm a ninja, so I would go to the tournaments, and of course I wouldn't have those freaking stars. I would just go in there with the green belt, and they would be like, he's a green belt, something, right? They couldn't know, right, how good I was based on the stars, right? So to me, it's perfect. I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna enter every tournament ever, and never tell anyone if I'm, you know, green 1 or green 9. I'm just green, right? I'm just green. So you can guess how good I am after I beat you, yeah. So I love that, and I got complaints about it several times. They were like, you have to have that Budo, you know, like in Dragon Ball, you can have that, you know, the outfit, right, has like a symbol of the dojo and so on. Yeah, you should have that one. And I was like, why? I don't. The rules, it's open to rules, right? Come on. So it's kind of fun in those stuff too. Like, why would I follow that? You have to win, right? But anyway, we're going to no. But I think it's interesting that martial art that. Many techniques then are completely useless actually. And I say it as a guy that's trained in martial art for most of my adult life. I'm like, half of the moves are crap if the other guy can fight. Like, and that's an interesting thing, because it's like if you train like karate or taekwondo or that kind of more punching kicking martial art, it's like, yeah, you have, you know, in karate you have bad and worse punches, right? But still, if you punch someone, you still punch them, right? If you punch someone in the face, you punch them in the face. Like you can do it different ways, but obviously, if I do this thing in your face, you still take some damage, right? Yeah, it's kind of like, you know. But it is so, and similar like judo and so on, similar actually martial arts, different kind of grappling and hooks and so on. It's kind of like, well, this ability here, it is really good as long as they don't know what you're doing, right? Yeah, because it's a lot of technique and a lot of because a lot of stuff is very easy to counter. So you're like, well, I can just counter your ability. Like, who cares? News to cash. Well, yes, I've been thinking about this thing, Yuri, for a while here, to have this kind of like more personal thing, do the man of cultural / interesting thing, right? Like next week, I mentioned earlier, I'll probably do my math thing, and that makes me, yeah, on Twitch. I haven't said earlier too. The reason why is because I want to stream on Twitch when I have a game I want to play, Currently I'm playing a Xenoblade, and there's a Switch game, and I'm too tired to get, I'm too lazy and poor, or lazy, probably more poor, lazy, to buy one of those, recording thing for Twitch, right? So I don't stream Twitch games. Switch on Twitch games. That's the reason why, right? But I think it's that, I don't know, the problem, side note here, I guess, from the Ninja stuff, is that a lot of people, they live for being a Twitch streamer, right? They do stream Twitch, like Fall Guys, that is the big thing now, right? Everyone's like Fall Guys, right? I like streaming, right? I like talking to people, right? I like streaming on Twitch too. But I would never, how say it? I'm a guy that's like, I only streaming games that I like, right? See what I mean? I wouldn't stream a game I don't like. And that sounds like obvious, but I don't think so. I think a lot of people, they just stream all the time because they're like, I have to stream. I'm just like, I want to stream good games, in that sense, right? But yeah, I know you can stream Switch, but it's just that I don't have to stream for Switch. I mean, I would love to stream Fire Emblem. It's my favorite game on Switch, right? I would love to stream Fire Emblem, I guess, but I'm too lazy to buy one of these. You need some kind of recording device for your Switch, for your TV and so on, right? To can show your TV. And of course, they're pretty easy to buy actually, but I'm just too lazy for it. I'm just too lazy. But it's actually just there was one thing I haven't even reviewed the game. This would be a very side note here, but I was addicted to Fire Emblem. I was really addicted to Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I played it so much. I played it for like 10 hours a day probably, like insane. I woke up before work and I played it, and then I went home and I played it, and I kept playing it all the time. And I was thinking there, man, I probably stream this because I'm playing it all the time, and I'm playing it only of course on Madden in the hardest difficulty. And I beat it and I played it again on another house, and I kept playing it, but at the same time I was like, I haven't even reviewed the game because I felt if I'm gonna review the game and play it and stream it and so on, I'd probably go insane because I was like, I'm so into this game that I was like, I have to stop playing it. Somehow. And if I start doing, streaming and so on, I probably get even more into being like, oh, I need to really stream now. I have people watching my streams or something. I would probably be even more insane, right? I would probably be, I'll probably go crazy. Yeah, something like El Cato or something like that. I actually used to have those things. It's kind of funny, right? I used to do gaming reviews and so on. I used to do gaming reviews, stuff like that, right? Way before I was cool, right? Because I'm an old nerd, right? I used to have a gaming blog and so on, right? And that stuff, and we record our stuff. So I've had these, recording PlayStation 1 games, stuff like that. When I was younger, right? I had I was very, very early. Me and my friend had like a game blog and an anime blog and so on. Back in like 98. We were super early internet. I learned to write HTML code and so on, right? Scripting for websites. I did that already in the 90s. So I was very, very early having like a manga and gaming sites and so on, right? So I was super into that. But then I just stopped working with it after, I don't know, when I went to college, this stuff. And it's kind of a thing too that the main reason why I stopped in a way with many of those stuff was because I had different game jobs and I got into working at Blizzard. And then I felt that, well, I'm working at Blizzard now, so why do I keep writing this, magazine? Why do I keep writing for this game magazine? I have the job I want, right? So I was like, screw it. I already got to the point I wanted to. I mean, I was writing for these magazines because I wanted to have a game job, right? I wanted to get education, and I also wanted to get more exposure, right, for these game companies. So that's why I kind of like, I did that stuff, right? But yeah, Jet Girls, I mean, I've seen, of course, Kadokawa Jet Girl. I mean, they have a Gairu. They have freaking Hibiki as one of the characters. So, I mean, I've seen it. I know the game is out now. I was thinking of playing the game. Actually, good question. I was thinking of buying that, Kadokawa Jet Girl. But I was trying to honestly figure out if it's a good game or not. Honestly. Like, I know it has a lot of waifus. It's like a waifu game, right? A man of culture waifu game. Yeah, Kedyu! That would be a great game. Martial art game, Kedyu. You can use your ass to push them out. Man, I want to see Kedyu in real life. I want to see Kedyu full out. But we already have that. That's Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3. They already have Kedyu in that game. When they have the girls fighting there. But yeah, those kind of games are also interesting because obviously, like for example, early Persona, I love the waifu games, right? The typical Ninja Kid, of course, Otaku Maximum. I love the waifu games. Unfortunately, they usually don't have that good gameplay, right? You know, I haven't played yet, girl. I was trying a few years ago to look at, is the gameplay actually good, right? Because it's like Wave Race. I should play Wave Race, right? 64. But is it a good game or not? That's the question I have to wonder. I can't figure out if it's... I mean, I know it has like maximum waifu, but it's like, is it a good game? I don't know. I don't know, right? But yeah, I mean, they have the gyros. They're awesome. I mean, I would obviously play the gyro team. If I was playing Yes Girls, I would play the 2 gyros. They're always like, you know, all super sexy and doing stuff. Yeah, obviously, I wouldn't play the other girls. I definitely wouldn't play the main girls. They have like the lamest main girl. And she's always like, oh, I'm so happy. She's the most basic main girl, right? But our name's good. One game that I'm thinking I'm gonna play actually, probably will either put it on maybe Twitch, maybe YouTube. It is probably actually, I have it here. God damn it, what is it called? One game I'm thinking probably would be the next game I'm gonna play with the wives and so on. Even the probably a little maybe. It's this game actually. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I like the Aegis there. This is like a new game from Vanillaware. That's of course done for the Odin Sphere and so on. And this is some kind of crazy RTS / dating game, waifu, weird RTS strategies or something. Like I can't even figure out exactly how it works. I kind of like that. I'm like, interesting game system. So that's probably, that could be the next game on our stream. Maybe Marvel. I don't know. We've seen that's coming next week too. But I mean, I'm a big Marvel fan, but those games are usually pretty meh. So, but let's see. I'm waiting for the reviews to see if people actually like the game. Because I'm like, man, I don't know. I'll say one thing about the Marvel game. Side note here, Marvel game. I hate how it looks. It's like, I want to play it. It looks pretty good actually. But then I see some of the characters. I'm like, I don't understand. Why are they going for this like realistic view of them? But they don't look like the movies. I mean, I'm like, you know, old school comic guy. So I actually want the Marvel game to be, you know, like the comics, right? I want it to be like, I want to have 2, right? I want Wolverine to be yellow Spanish, right? I want that stuff. But it's like, they're going the photorealistic route, but they still look kind of weird. So I don't understand. But I digress. Obviously, I'm more into, you know, Japanese rifle games. Yeah. Third Sentinel, I think it's interesting because it looks crazy. It looks like, what is happening? There's some kind of weird RTS thing, and they're fighting in like Tokyo, and they're like, instead of like, you know, controlling like mechas, you're controlling like, I don't know, it's like a tower defense thing. You're gonna fight with them, and then you have this like, and also kind of Kadyu, and you have some romance stuff, and you're powering up with this. It just looks weird. I'm just like, I like this. It is crazy, and that for that matter, right? I mentioned that again in the last stream. I will do a future stream where that will be the main goals. They're talking about martial art here. It's gonna be the whole JRPG thing, right? It's gonna be the whole JRPG thing, right? Because if there is one thing I think, I say it again, I say it every goddamn time, right? And you know, if you look at my channel, when I started the channel actually 3 years ago, I didn't do anime. I didn't actually do much. It's like 1 video per month at best probably. But I was starting kind of slowly, because as I mentioned earlier, 15 years ago I was doing videos, I was doing reviews on games and so on, animes. 15, 20 years ago. So I was very, very early, right? Then I took a long break actually. I took a long break, basically like 10 to 17, didn't do anything. I was like, I'm out. You know, I've done this so many years. I was like, yeah. But anyway, at 17 there, I kind of started slowly. I started with like, you know, Nier Automata, Neo, right? And also, of course, like old school JRPG, Sega Frontier and so on. I kind of started slowly on this channel here, because I have already said it before, right? But I started here slowly, but I'm gonna go into JRPG. So, yeah, I like, you know, every time someone's like, what game do you like? I'm like, oh, this game. So, but I think long time about that, but it's, you know, being a big anime manga fan, and I truly think there's a connection to the JRPG, right? All the Final Fantasy and so on, those kind of games. As a kid, playing those games, playing the manga games, playing those games, that is how I get into liking, you know, Japanese culture, liking the writing, right? So I mentioned here earlier, Third Sentinels. Like that game to me screams Japanese, right? Because it's crazy, right? Like Nier Automata, it's crazy. Nier Automata is a great game because the world map in Nier Automata is super ugly, right? The Nier Automata world map is like a freaking, little big image, freaking digital craziness, right? You know, Nier Automata's world map looks crazy. Like it looks crazy. like that's how you do a world map. Like it looks ugly. Here it is, you know. I'm gonna put it down in streamer. Boom. Oh, I had something Nier. I probably have a lot of waifu stuff on Nier. I wrote Nier Deposit, and I was like, no, I already have something with Nier. I was like, it's probably like on 2BS something. My brother is a very big fan of Nier Automata, so can you get it here? Come on. Why won't it work? God damn it, tech glitches, but didn't I? Here we go, lag over. There we go, bam. This is the world map, right, of Nier Automata, right? And this to me is a reason why, you know, I love anime, manga, why I am the Ninja Kid, right? Because obviously this map was pretty ugly. Like, this map isn't good. Like, it looks ugly, right? It's good in a way, but I mean, to a large extent, it looks super ugly, right? It looks kind of weird, right? It looks super weird. But the thing is that is perfectly works with this game world. They have these like beautiful hot chicks, right? The wife to fight with them and so on, right? And also I guess 9S for campaign, right? Then the boy too. And you fight these mechas and robots and so on, right? And it has a lot of this weird digital and it's this philosophy and so on, right? So then this world map that is super ugly in a way is purposely ugly and it really works, right? Those are things I really love, right? With Japanese media, right? You know, both again, right? You know, again, not just anime, manga, but also gaming, right? And also why I really love those. Obviously, as a Ninja Kid guy, you know, as a man of culture, the games I prefer are the games that are very anime, right, so to speak. But I don't see them as anime. Today we kind of say that, oh, the game is kind of anime, right? Like Persona, yeah, this game feels very anime, right? Yeah, it feels very anime. But for me, it is more sort of being, you know, oh, it's anime. I'm thinking more, this is Japan, you know. That's how I'm thinking about it more. I think a lot of people say Persona 5, very anime. But I think it more like, no, Persona 5, that to me is very Japanese, right? It has the wife, it has this thing, it has the crazy storytelling, it has the betrayal, it has the mental. That to me, and that's why I like, you know, Japan, right? Because I like that they do stuff that feels good, right? They do stuff that's good. They're not PC, right, so to speak, right? They do stuff that's good, right? I want that stuff, right? Nier Automata, of course, very crazy game in every aspect, right? But I really mean it because, for example, I worked in, you know, a few different game companies, right? Also with Japanese companies. I worked with Square in this, right? But, you know, most game companies in the West, right? If I told them that I want to have this map, I have this like digital, you know, ugly on purpose map, most companies would have been like, this is crazy, we can't do it, you're insane, right? For example, I worked in one game last year, and we have this drill enemy, or character, I mean, playable character as well, and he fights with drills hands. And I was like, let him have the Gainax pose, let him do the Gainax pose, and he stands for you in the idol, I should do the Gainax pose, because of course he looks like a take it up and go the gun character, you know, and they were like, no, we can't do this, no one will get it, it's boring. So that stuff is so boring in the West. They don't want the references, they don't want to take any chances, it's really boring. I mean, these are good games too, but I think at a large extent you like the Japanese culture because, like, man, it's way more interesting, it's way more expressionable, and they have more interesting ideas, right? But that's a good point, you know, like, why haven't you played Ghost of Tsushima, right? It's a little bit like that, because I'm not an overly big fan of that game, because I look at the game and I'm just like, well, to me it's like, you know, it's like an American company trying to be Japanese, that can be very good, and doesn't have to be bad, but I'm like, I don't think they're really getting it, in a sense, you know, it's Japan now for me, in a way. But what I don't like with that game mostly though is that I have played, for example, Zero Hours of the Dawn. I still know a person that works in the game, right? Still more than one person, but a friend that was there, and so on. I played that game, I played Spider-Man and so on, right? And I'm actually, honestly, a little tired of these open world-ish games, right? When you travel around and you pick up stuff and so on, and it's like, oh, you have to go to every Inari shrine. It's like 55 Inari shrines. I'm actually a little bored of those games, personally. I felt that Tsushima, I'm not saying it's a bad game, I'm actually saying it's probably better than, for example, most of these games I mentioned. Or I say Spider-Man is my favorite of these games, but I felt that it was like, this is this genre again, right? It is good, it's actually pretty good of that genre, but I felt I've seen this before. Red Dead, whatever, so I felt I played this gameplay exactly before. This is not a skin, it's like a Japanese skin over like Zero, or that's not something. instead of having this like mecha skin, it's like a Japanese skin. I feel it's like a visual difference thing. That's why I really like Spider-Man. You know, if you play Spider-Man, I've seen that game on Twitch. You know, that game is fantastic, right? Spider-Man. Of course, I'm a Spider-Man fan, but that game is fantastic because it has that world exploration mechanics, right? But it has a different gameplay because you're actually playing Spider-Man. So you're swinging around, you're flying around, you're fighting stuff. It feels very different. With the other games, their gameplay, in my opinion, is too similar, right? They have the same, you know, world thing as Spider-Man, but they have a similar gameplay. So Spider-Man's gameplay is just so different. So it's probably actually my all-time favorite. One of these open sandboxy kind of game. I think I would say so. And I like New York too, so it's pretty cool to see the stuff. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts. I mean, I have one of the games under the desk there. Probably shouldn't try to pick it up. So I mean, I play the Kingdom Hearts games. I have them here actually just under the where the camera is. So the camera is on my TV table, right? And on the TV table I have most of my PC3 and PC4 games. It's like 50 games, something like that. It's like a huge collection there. But the cable goes from it. And I mean, I have almost every, you know, Square Enix game, right? So Assassin's Creed, I think in a similar way there too, and I probably should say this because I talked to Ubisoft last week, but Assassin's Creed for me is kind of what I mean, right? I think Assassin's Creed, when it was new, very cool game. You know, world growing, I mean, so on, when it was new. But in my opinion, I feel they have done basically the exact same thing, right, for like the last 4 or 5 games, something like that. And you know, with the latest, oh my god, the latest Assassin's Creed game, now it's Vikings, Valhalla, right? We're going to you know, my home country, yeah. We're going to Sweden and so on. And it's like, last time, was it like what, Greek? You know, the games, in my opinion, are so similar, and they're just changing. Yeah, but they're like basically changing the environment, right? So we were at like Native Americans, and then it was like, I don't know, London, something like that, right? Like Victorian area, and then it was like, you know, Egypt or something, right? Or maybe Helos. Wasn't the Helos area Greek, right? Hello and Helios League and so on. It was that, right? And now it's like Viking, right? So they kind of like, if you ever grew up with Xena, the warrior princess, which is a great TV show, I love Xena. So if you ever seen Xena, which is like very good TV show, I love freaking Xena. Lucy Lawless, freaking awesome TV show. I love that show. And you know, she's Yuri, you know, she's a Yuri main character, yeah. She gets the girl in the end, you know. Yeah, she marries Gabrielle in the end, basically, and have a daughter, right? But Xena, very cool. Again, I love Xena. It's one of my favorite TV shows. It's so campy, but I love it. But basically, in Xena is like the predator of Assassin's Creed, okay? Because Xena, she's like, this season I am killing all the Greekas. The next week is like, I'm killing all the. I mean, it's also very much, of course, you know, my God, losing my tongue here. God of War, yeah. It's also, she's even more called God of War because she kills all the gods. She kills Zeus, then she kills Odin, then she's like in Japan, and she's killing Amsaturu. Basically, it's like, she kind of travels around in all the different myths and kills everyone. It's like, she's even more, of course, God of War. This Xena TV show, but that's still how I kind of feel that I look at Assassin's Creed. It's kind of like, yes, last year we were in Greek. Before that, we were in Egypt or whatever. And this year, we go to Sweden. It's kind of like they're just traveling. Every season is like a new country. But it's the exact same storytelling, right? And it's the same abilities. They haven't really improved the main character. It's still just Xena throwing her chakra and everything. But man, Xena is fun though. I mean, obviously it's a Captain America character. She throws her shield. But I think it's like season 5 or so. She gets this double. It's even crazy, right? Because she throws her chakram. And then it flies around and kills everyone, right? But then she gets like a magical chakram. They can kill gods. The god killing chakram, that also fittingly is her weapon for some reason. It could be a super chakram. But that chakram is 2 chakrams that are 2 daggers. And that's the craziest idea ever. So she has 2 daggers. They kind of blade dagger, right? So she has this dagger, right? Basically like a kama, yeah. She has 2 daggers. And she throws the 2 daggers like this, right? And then they fly around. And they kill everything around her. And then they can also turn into one chakram, like a circle. And then they fly around like a shield circle thing and back to her arms again. Yeah, I love seeing that because it's so overkill. She has a double chakram throw weapon, and she can like murder, 55 people, gods around her, right? And like, it's like bam, and gets pants, and it's ridiculous. It's so beautiful. It's beautiful. It's just an overkill weapon, and it's one of the most insanely overpowered weapons in the history of TV show. Like the double chakram, anti-god chakram. It's like the ultimate weapon. Sina, the warrior princess. It's like this crazy, female going around killing everything. She has a best friend, later lover than Gabrielle, so she's a Yuri girl, and they have what's his name again? Yoxer, yeah, that is. They have this simp guy that he keeps, this man that he keeps abusing. They have this random guy that never gets to do any credit and so on. And she fights, Julius Caesar, and she fights like. It's also kind of funny in Sina. It's always perfect TV shows because she lives somewhere. She's an Amazonian, right? She lives some, time around 2,000 years ago, but it's like somehow everyone lives at that age. She can fight Caesar, she can fight Genghis Khan, she can fight Odin and Zeus. She can fight both mythological and historical people, and they're all somehow living in the exact same age too. That's why I love it, that TV show too. It's like, how are they all living? I mean, from a historical aspect, right? You would be like, no. Julius Caesar, he lived, like this before Christ, right? Like say 60, this time, and so, but anyway, yeah, she fights like a Mongol army and so on. It's like that's like 1,000 years later than Caesar. But in that TV show, everyone in history lives in the same time. Right? Somehow they're all living on the same time, and all the gods are real, and they're also living on the same time. And it also takes like a day to travel to the other countries. It's like you could go over there. It's like you get on your cart and you talk to your girlfriend for like 5 minutes, and suddenly you're in the next country. Yeah, so it's. I mean, I love this show. It went for like 10 years, man. I'm grappling that show, man. It's fantastic. For that matter, they also did other shows, right? Down in New Zealand, and they also did this Robin Hood show. Also pretty good too. That was good, and of course Hercules. But the Robin Hood show was really good too. But I remember it was so funny. This is super silent now, super ranty here. But in Robin Hood, they had an English actor. I think it was English. But anyway, he had black hair, not long, flowing, dark, black hair, short, somewhat like here, yeah, and so on, right? Season 1, season 2, they have a completely new actor that was like twice his size. He was like way bigger and muscular, and he had long blonde hair instead. It was I just remember that. I said, remember that, dude. I love the TV show, right? It's finally back on TV. I'm like probably 14, 15. I'm like, it's finally back. I waited, the whole year. It's finally back. Give me some Robin Hood. I'm like, who is this blonde guy? And everyone else was the same actor. Like everyone else, Father Tucker and Marion, they were the same people. But just the main actor was a completely different person. And he was taller too. He was like, he was like a head, at least 2 hairs taller. He was like way bigger, much more muscular, like really, huge guy, right? And they had long blonde hair instead. I was like, what is this? I mean, I still watched it, but I couldn't take it serious. I was like, they haven't just changed the actor. They have changed, like, it's like 2 different humans. It's so different. It reminds me of this old TV show in Sweden, Skilda världar. They did the exact same thing there. Season 1, that's so bad too, because the evil mother, the antagonist of the show, had black hair and so on, and she was basically the main antagonist, and she was dressed in style and so on. And then the next season, suddenly, they just had another woman, a blonde, blue-eyed Swedish girl instead. That looked pretty different, a lot more nicer. Yeah, it was like going from like the evil stepmom into this like beautiful MILF instead. I was like, what's happening? It was like a weird thing too, because they went from like this super old evil hag into like a beautiful young lady, and I was like, she was still the antagonist though. She was still the bad guy, so it was like she's still the main antagonist. But now she looks, before she was like an evil witch, right? That kind of stuff. Now she's like, like young and attractive instead of being, yeah, it was so strange. I hate TV shows when they change that, right? But yeah, I think I discussed earlier there when it comes to the music. I actually listened to a lot to, and I probably will push his name now, but Masashi. What is it? So I don't mention it. Masashi Hamasa is the one I listen to the most now, actually, when it comes to Square Enix music. and he did of course Sega Frontier 2 and so on. So you know, I'm a really pretty guy, right? I am that super. I played every Swedish game, right? It's like probably my favorite. Maybe it's, but I don't know. I think the Sega game has the best music, probably Swedish. But anyway, let's go back to the main topic here. No, yeah, because I have a lot of ninja stories, but of course I will feed them out on the other streams as well, right? Because I have to say, as the most interesting manga in the world, right? One ninja story I really love that I have, which is the story that I can't remember. That's why it's the best story ever, I feel. So this is a story told to me when I am 20, right? So this guy, my classmate from senior high school, he tells a story about me to a third guy when I meet him in the summer 2 years later, as I met him last time, and I was like, is this true? Like, I have no memory of this happening. So what happened was that, according to him, so allegedly, I still have no memory of it happening, but he claimed it happened. So I'm like, it sounds about right. So I meet this guy then, my old classmate. I haven't seen him in 2 years. I'm back in my hometown. It's summer, right? So I'm back from school in my hometown, and I meet this guy, and he has some other friend, right, that I haven't met before. And it's like, oh man, it's this guy. Let me tell you about this guy. This guy is crazy, awesome, and it's like gives him these stories, right? So he tells a story, one of the many stories about my legendary life. He tells him a story how we went to the lunch break, and this is Sweden, so you have paid lunch by the state as welfare, right? So you get food at like actual school as a lunch place, where you get pretty good food actually. Yeah. So I get to the food. And apparently then, it turned to him, right, I had broken a glass and it exploded everywhere. So when I was gonna grab one of those glasses, right, at the cafeteria, the lunch place, I just grabbed it and it exploded in my hand. And it was flying, glass spitted everywhere. And I was like, And then I just took the food. I didn't say anything. I just put on the glasses, took some other food, and I just went and ate. And I was like, so apparently I did that. And that sounded like me, because I was like, it sounds like me breaking something and being like, whatever. It's probably fine, like, whatever. And I just go outside. So he tells his story, and being a Street Fighter fan, right? Being a massive Street Fighter fan, he's like, and I was like, I don't remember this happening. He's like, oh, it happened. It was crazy. Everyone was shocked. But you didn't act like it. But you act like normal. I was like, yeah, I don't care about it. It's like, he said, but it happened. How can you remember it? I was like, for you, that was the biggest day of your life. For me, it was just Tuesday, right? So, of course, and Bison reference. I told him that the Bison reference. He didn't get the reference, but I at least chuckled myself. So that's a story about, I don't know, being the ninja kid. I did break that glass at school. And I probably didn't remember it because, as I mentioned during this whole thumbnail, right? I was walking around with these, 8 kilogram wristbands, right? I had it on me, right? So when you grab stuff, sometimes you definitely couldn't control your power. You definitely kind of broke stuff and stuff like that. So I probably did break a glass in school. I was like, and I was like, sorry about that. I was like, shit happens, and I just acted like nothing happened. It sounded like me. Because once, for example, at home, I was gonna open a window at home and I broke the glass. Yeah. So once I broke the window, I was gonna open it. It was like an old window. So it didn't have like a handle or whatever. So you had to push the glass kind of to open it. So I was gonna push the glass, like going to the glass, right? And my hand just went through it. My hand is like, I just crashed it through. I was like, bam, and my hand just went straight through the glass, and I was like, oh, okay. Sorry, mom. I was like, it's not my fault. It's a bad old window. So yeah, that happened though when you had your weights on and so on. You broke some stuff. Yeah. What more did I break? There was one time I walked through the ice though, and my foot was like an ice. But it was probably too heavy. That was annoying. Yeah, once me and a friend took the shortcut over the frozen lake in my hometown. And he walked, I'm a big fat guy, right? So he walked ahead of me, and it looked fine, right? And then I kind of walked there, and my right foot just went straight through the ice, and I got stuck in the water. I had my foot, he had to pull me up. So he has to like pull me up, so I actually cannot bleed everywhere because the ice then kind of cut my leg, right. So I got like my whole leg was like a circle of scars. So I was like, at least it was cold, so my arm probably was fine. But I was only about my leg was probably fine. I mean, but that's something that happened when you have those weights on you. Maybe I was just really fat, right? Maybe I was just really, really fat in general. But it's like, I think it was because my legs were so heavy. The worst thing doing that like Rock Lee, Goku weight training is that, not the worst thing, but one of the worst things I think in general is that when you walk in stairs, it really annoys you. Okay, so I have 16 kilogram here, right? Yeah, put here, right? So every time I'm like trying to walk down a staircase at school or whatever, right, or where I'm at home and so on, that's actually where you feel it the most, right? Because your leg is quite heavy, so you have like every time you're trying to walk down the staircase, which is like Rock Lee training gear, you basically feel like you're gonna fall down. Like honestly, you kind of feel like you're gonna fall down because it's like the imbalance of your weights are so heavy downwards. So you kind of go down. It feels like you're gonna fall down basically. You kind of the weird. You don't get how to say it. You don't get used to it either because it's just how it is. I mean, you probably get strong in your legs because you have to keep not falling down. So obviously you get more muscles. So it's not bad for you because you get muscles, right? But you never get that feeling at your head when you're wearing them. Every time I walked in stairs, downward, not upwards, downwards, it felt very unnatural because I had to be like, kind of like that. Yeah, like, it was kind of like every step was like, I'm gonna fall. Of course, you don't feel afraid, but it felt really strange. Like for like 4 years, I never got rid of that feeling that I was like gonna free fall every time I walked downwards in the staircase. That's kind of the daily issue of wearing the ninja weight training. Yeah, that was really strange. Upwards though, completely fine. Right? You go upwards, it's just heavy. Right? Yeah, you go upwards. Sure, I mean your body is heavier, so you feel that your legs are training more, but it's like that's fine. You don't feel anything. It's kind of like a cow. Cows can't walk downwards in stairs, right? You can walk upwards. You can't feel that. You can get a cow, bison feel to it. Yeah, like it's easy to run in this direction, but going down again, not very easy. But actually, it's probably a reason why, right? Because a lot of animals, dogs, also sometimes so on, cows, dogs, and other animals are very bad sometimes to walk downwards during stairs and so on. It can be very hard for them. My dog was like that. We had a lot of trouble jumping downwards. A very tiny dog. He has to jump down the stairs. He didn't like it at all, right? Upwards, no problem whatsoever. But he's kind of afraid he was gonna go jump down, right? It's gonna get that animalistic feeling in me. It's like, oh, shit, I'm gonna fall. But yeah, that's one of the things that's kind of funny with weight training too. You definitely get a little too strong for your own good, uncontrolled in that sense, and you have that fear of, not fear, but like the feeling of, I'm gonna fall sometimes, especially in the beginning. But you have to think about it. I was wearing this stuff because I think that to make it a good effect, you have to wear them all the time. You can't just be like, I'm gonna put them on only at dojo. I wear them, at school. So I was sitting at school and I was writing. I had like this stuff basically kind of flowing on my arm, and then I was writing stuff at school. I was like, it's like having something on your arm that kind of pushes your arm down and so on, right? But that's how you get that bonus training, right? That free training. And I was this thing though. I think that's one of the most important things in life to be in good shape is to always do the free training. So for example, when I worked at one game company, the first time I had my own office, I guess. Yeah, the first time I had my own office, then when I worked at a game company, I had I shared the office first actually with one guy, but he quit. So then I just had the office myself then, and then I would use the office to train, right? Yeah, like every time, like once an hour, I would get up like 5 minutes to push-ups, to sit-ups in my office. Because I have my own office, I can do whatever I want, right? Kind of like that, yeah. So that's my recommendation, right? Yeah, like you should always. I think it's very important. For example, what I do currently, when I cook food, for example, I do sit-ups. Sit-ups. When I make food, when I brush my teeth, I do sit-ups. Stuff like that, right? So I think that's very important to always try to find that extra thing, right? And yeah, you see me streaming and so on, doing stuff, right? But what I usually do then when I used to play games is that I always have like a dumbbell or I train with something, when I do something else, right? Yeah. If I ever watch TV, which I don't, but if I did watch TV, I'm the kind of guy that used to be a dumbbell, like, you know. I'm like Deku, I'll be like, yeah, it's a good TV show, you know, and I have to be training on some time on the same time, right, or I do something else, right. That's how it should be, right. Very, very important. I think that's one of those key things, and that's why I do like that, you know, weight training, like Rocket League style, because it makes you always train. It makes your body constantly exercise, even if you don't get that much exercise. I mean, of course, the thing to be said is it's the most effective training ever, right? And definitely won't burn your fat. You know, you definitely won't get. But that's me, right? Yeah, I got that ninja walking thing. But I'll say this, yeah, that's me though, because exactly like. You get that if you're walking like me though, you don't really burn that much fat though, because I'm a really big guy, right? I weigh a lot. My BMI is like crazy. I should be dead probably, but my BMI is like super morbidly obese. And of course, god damn it. Okay, you probably hear this out. It's like the buildings on the outside there. I was like, what the hell? The whole building is like what? But yeah, like you get that. That's one thing though, right? Like my body, I'm super heavy, and but I was growing up then. I could do the split, and I can do all this different. I was like a cheerleader, right? I could do all the flips and the turns and the flippity flop and so on, right? And as I mentioned in my Hustle Dead movie, Hustle of the Get High School, right? Obviously, the best girl is the girl that can do the suplex, right? Like Oniska-san, you know, I mean, doing the German suplex, yeah. So as a kid, right? I really trained to do these different, you know, like the martial art moves, especially then German suplex, then, which is if you grab someone and you go down in a bridge, right? And so I was very flexible, and I could do all this weird, you know, shielded stuff, whatever. So it's kind of fun in that sense because I'm a really big guy. Like I'm tall, right? I'm Swedish. I'm 6'3". I'm quite taller than most people, right? And I'm very, very big in my shoulder, right? My brother's here on me, so I'm very, very big on my you know, that's why I look so fat, guys. Because I have so much body shape. Yeah, because I'm so much body here, right? So it was kind of fun with that because I was not the biggest guy. I was not the biggest guy in my class, but I was more flexible than the girls. I can do my flips and I can do my shits and so on. So that's the best thing being Nina guy though. God damn, it's happening. Now too, it's like late here. What's happening? There are builds up there, but I was like, come on, man. So yeah, we get really some. But yeah, you mean I have so much weapons, you know. Comes from my kamas, right? I have so much weapons, you know, swords, and I got all my nunchucks or all that, but the one I could find here, you know, I got like collection of this, that the real ninja kid, right? Of course, Michelangelo is the best turtle, right? So of course you have, you know, you have to have many nunchucks, right? More than you can use, yeah. It's like so many nunchucks to get to fight with them. Or I can build like a 3 sexual staff. I can combine them maybe. This is one of my favorite episodes, right? 3 sexual staff, love it, poppin'. Yeah, but nunchuck is awesome, and I really will say this thing. As the ninja kid, I guess it's true that before I had Dragon Ball, before I had Naruto, so right, of course I had Turtles, right? Turtles was big, yeah, of course it was. Me and my best friend, we watched Turtles all the time, right? And of course Michelangelo is the best turtle, so of course you gotta buy your nunchucks, and then, but I do have a size, and I have a freaking staff, right? Donatello has a freaking staff, I have a staff, and of course you have several katanas, right? But yeah, working on turtles is that can be the last thing here, because I need to eat the food and need to put food the family. That can be the last thing here. I give you a little emotional story here. Actually, yeah, I'm almost gonna tear up thinking about it. So, okay, so the first time I actually cried when I was on you know when on the office. I cried before in my life, but the first time I cried at any kind of workplace, right, when I felt really emotional, and it was happy tears, so it wasn't like, you know, someone was being mean to me or whatever. Of course, that really faced me because I grew up as a ninja kid. But really, no, growing up as a ninja kid, right, being the nerd that likes video games, anime, manga, and so on. And remember this, I'm old, right? So I was into anime when we had like Tenshin Moyo and like Sailor Moon. Like that was the anime we had. Like in my home country, and Star Singer, we had 3 animes. We had Star Singer, that's older than me, very very old, 70s. So that wasn't really big when I was a kid. but we had Star Singers. We had VUS tapes, Tenshin Moyo, only thing you could buy. So of course I'm a harem guy. For me, anime was like man of culture. I was like, anime is, yeah. But as a kid, right, for me, I was like 4 and 5, something there. I watched Tenshin Moyo, right? And so for me, anime from Japan was like, there's one guy and it's like 6 wives. That's what's anime for me, right? I grew up and I was like, anime is that you have alien hot chicks living with you. I was like, I like this anime. So that was the first. But really though, that's my image of anime, right? My first image of anime, was basically the harem, right? It was the harem stuff because we had those VUS tapes. We didn't have anime on TV, right? There was no internet, right? So the only anime we had were the VUS tape animes, and that was Tenshin Moyo was the first thing we actually got for whatever reason. But Tenshin Moyo was made as an OVA, right? So they kind of, it wasn't on TV. So we had Tenshin Moyo. Of course, later on we got Love Hina and so on, right? But that was like 10 years later, right? Love Hina, I have all the books, I have all the Love Hina books and so on. But Love Hina was way later. Tenshin Moyo was the original anime in my home country, basically. And then we had Sailor Moon, right? Sailor Moon was like, the first TV anime, right? That we had on TV. Dragon Ball didn't air on TV until, like 10 years later. Right? So Sailor Moon was the first TV show we had that was anime. So anyway, growing up like that, right? Of course you were like, getting bullied or whatever for your anime, manga and so on was something we were pretty used to from early age, right? So that makes pretty tough skin though, which I think also makes a little bit be an anime kid, right? Because I never really cared that people say that guy is doing some push-ups on the lunch break. He's a weirdo, right? Oh, let's bully him. I was like, screw you, losers. It's kind of funny too because people really did try to bully me, especially these rednecks in my hometown. There are a lot of rednecks, epatatorer. They would bully me, right? Because I was doing these like sit-ups and push-ups and so on at lunch break, and then they would fight me because they would physically attack me all the time, right? These bullies or just being mean, they were fighting you, and as you could hear, it's as stupid as it sounds. Like, okay, we're gonna bully this guy because he's doing martial art training and exercising during the breaks. He's different. Let's fight him, right? And I'm like, but I'm training how to fight. So I beat them up. So that's true. I was in a lot of fights, especially high school, like almost every week, once a week basically. But usually I won, right? It was like 3 guys, I beat them up. And I'm like, yeah, but you're weaker and like it doesn't make any sense. So that was the dumbest thing though. They would be like, why are they attacking me for like? I mean, I understand why they're attacking me. I mean, from a thematic sense, because they want to bully people different, right? But I'm like, but obviously I'm the stupidest person to bully because I'm doing this stuff. The kid over there is drawing stuff. Like he can probably beat him. You know what I mean? Whatever. I also had perfect grades. Everyone hated me because I had like a perfect A+ grade, right? I was a nerd, right? Which is kind of funny too because people bully me all the time because I was a nerd. I was studying so much, but I never studied. I never once in high school ever studied. I was playing my games, right? I never studied once because I didn't have to. But it was kind of like that because I am big. Yeah, I am. I mean, obviously this guy was Swedish, so they're pretty big too. But I was the second biggest guy in my class. I had another Swedish guy in my class who was Swedish. That was really big. He's like 2 meters, like 6'5", 7. Yeah, we had one guy that was really, really big, but everyone else was shorter than me and so on. Yeah, so I was like I think I was like more like the 4th or 5th tallest guy at my high school. That too. It's like, man, I'm pretty tall. I'm much taller than average. So yeah, that doesn't make any sense either. But obviously I had like perfect grades and so on, so they would hate me for that, right? As well. But anyway, growing up as an Indian kid, right? You get kind of bullied and so on. You get kind of used to it. So getting into the work life. Sorry for this really long story here, but this is my talking about weird stuff stream, right? So getting into the work life. Of course, I've had a lot of people being mean to me, whatever, right? At the office, right? I had a guy actually punched me down actually when I worked with him. Pushed me down on the ground. That's not a video. There'll be another video one day. Explaining that stuff. But that stuff hasn't really faced me, honestly, in my life. Because I'm like, oh yeah, you attacked me. It's like 186 centimeter. So I'm pretty tall. Like, that's 6'2", I think. Which to me is annoying because my grandfather was like 2 meters. My grandfather was very, very tall. So I was like, I'm a de-evolution. My father is 188 centimeter, yeah. So he's He's slightly taller than me. My father is slightly taller than me, but my grandfather was a giant. He was a Swedish 2-meter man. So my grandfather, he was very muscular too. So my grandfather was very, very big. So I'm just like, man, my grandfather was so much bigger than me. So what a failure, what a failure. But it's because my mom is short, right? Because my mom is short, that's the issue. Because my mom is actually average size. My mom is like 175, so she's actually pretty tall for being a woman. But everyone in her family is short. Like my grandma and my grandmother, mor and morfar on her side, they are like 160. So her family genes are goddamn short. But she's pretty tall actually, being a woman. So that's probably why I'm short. I blame my mom for that. Because my grandfather, he was a giant. And his brother was also like 195 something. So they were very, very tall. But my father is only 186 and I'm 188, 186, yeah. Goddamn, super annoying. He's super annoying. Seriously. But anyway, man, I'm all over the place. Anyway, my point was that it's kind of funny growing up as a ninja kid, in the sense, and you had an old nerd, right? Because you definitely get tough skin, right? I have a lot of weird stuff when I work in the office, because I think that especially because I worked in mainly game companies, and people in the game industry, they're all crazy. Trust me, they're all... You think I'm crazy? I'm the rational guy in the game industry. Like, this fun thing is, like, seriously though, my last gig when I worked for last year, like, I was by far the rational guy when it comes to, number crunching, economy, salaries, PR, that stuff that actually makes sense for the company, right? I'm actually the rational guy because I'm a math guy, right? So I'm actually the rational guy when it comes to... I might be crazy creative when I'm doing I was a lead game designer, right? So I'm inventing all the characters and I'm writing down, this should be a woman, she's fireballs and dragon summoning, and yeah, I'm doing that stuff, right? Because I'm the creative lead, right? At the company. But when it actually gets down to it, when you're like, who should we fire? I'm like, fire that guy. He's doing the leads, right? And the older man is like, but he has a wife and kids and so on. Yeah, it's sad, but I mean, he's doing an incredibly bad job, right? So in that kind of sense, in that kind of sense, right, I am actually weird enough the most rational guy, I would say, because I'm much better at being like a manager and being like, but this costs money or this is making sense, someone. So it's kind of funny because the game industry, most people you work with are just they're just weirdos. I feel, in my sense they're weird because they're not merit based, right? DV. I'm thinking like DreamWorks. I don't know what DV is. There's so many companies that could be DV, man. But anyway, back to the ninja story. Sorry for the super long side note there, but this is how I do my personal life, right? I always delve into tangents and rants. That's how I do it, right? The first time then, the light works. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Nice, yeah, Fatal Night. That's awesome, man. So now I'm gonna get you to get me into the office there. So get me a job now, man. You gotta do it. I've seen everything on New Game. If you go to the channel, you can find my New Game reviews and reactions. I did that New Game. I even reviewed every episode of New Game, season 2. So my channel was new then. I had no subscribers, right? I had 5 subscribers. New Game, one of the first animes actually reviewed in this channel. And of course, when I thought about New Game, I was very much like, this thing here makes no sense based on reality. I was like, no, because there's one episode in New Game where they break all the code or something, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense because in the game industry, or in any activity, right, you have subversions, you have version system, right, you have builds, right. So basically, you have the latest build on your main server, right, and this is what you're playing, right, in the main world, whatever, in the main build. If that thing is suddenly broken down, you're like, oh, it's broken, the main's broken. Someone, the girl, she's so stupid, yeah, the new girl ruined that in New Game. She has ruined the biggest thing there, right? That makes no sense in reality, because in reality, you will say that, what is the latest build? Oh, here, on Friday, before Monday, this build worked. Okay, let's go back. So, you will do it like that, but in New Game, they're like, oh no, we have to work overtime the whole weekend to fix this one issue, and that doesn't make any sense, because you will just revert it back. You must have to work overtime, but you will revert it. It wouldn't be that panic, right? And potentially you will cherry pick as well. But usually, because I had an issue when I worked at the game last year, for 3 years there, that every Monday I would come in basically, the Jenkins and the main would be broken, and I would then go in and I would fix the issues that the noobs has created, because I would have to sit there going through the log files and understand, oh, she wrote this code here wrong, oh, I had to fix it, and I would fix their code and I would fix the Yankee. So every Monday for like half a year for me was like the first 2-3 hours. I would also be very early in the morning. I would be like 6 in the morning. I would fix that they had broken the main game. But yeah, I mean, I like New Game. New Game I think is wonderful. You know, Nene is my best girl. Like Nene-chi, that's my best girl, definitely. So I mean, I like New Game, but I also kind of think it's funny how some of the stuff is like overblown like crazy. You're like, but this doesn't make any sense from like a technical standpoint. It never would have happened, right? But anyway, goddammit, my rants. No, I was playing the first time I cried. My crying story. Yeah, okay. So, as I said then, right? You grew up in this otaku life. You love the manga and anime and gaming. Everyone bullies you. I had perfect grades too. That didn't help. Right? I was a teacher pet, right? That didn't help. And then, you know, but you get hard skin, right? So I worked in these game companies, right? I worked with game companies. I worked with all these crazy people, right? You have this Japanese view now, but now I work in the Western view, like in California and even worse, Sweden, where the companies are just crazy. Okay, I could sit here for 10 hours just talking about my crazy coworkers in Sweden, because they are like, whoa, holy. Like I used to work with one guy that also was, probably can't say it on YouTube, but he was selling stuff that's, you know, not okay. He would go out every lunch break. He worked downtown. He worked in the mid central city. He would go out every lunch break and sell his stuff. That was I love the guy. He's a great guy, actually. I love the guy. But it was like okay, and he would also provide the owners with stuff and so on. So I mean, I've seen some great stuff. That's gonna be in another future videos. That was super crazy. But anyway. You live through all this game, all these weird people in the game office, right? And they never managed to break me down. They never managed to make me be like, oh, I'm gonna cry. No, I was like, no, these people are crazy. And I just laugh at it, right? But then, back to being a ninja, right? Back to being a ninja. Back to, you know, turtles. So, I used then, or used to, but I mean, it's one game, right? So you finish the game and then you do the next game. This is pretty way back now then, but I used to work then, and I did 2 turtle games. Okay, so you know what I mean, turtles, right? Turtles, yes, the ninja mutant turtles, right? Yeah, so that's true. So I worked on 2 turtles games, 2 quite different ones, and that's the first time I finally broke down when I worked on a game company. Because I mentioned they're all crazy, all the game company, they're all crazy, that all my coworkers and so on. Most of them are really weird. So I had so many weird incidents where I've been like, oh, you're wrong and whatever, you know, and I haven't been emotional. But I was working at Turtles, and I started at, you know, like the opening of one of the games then. And they kind of had like a redone opening. It wasn't the same opening like the old TV show, but they had like basically a new one for this game, right? With some other new bad guys, and of course Shadow Steel 2 and so, but with some other bad guys, right, and so on. And they kind of had the same opening song, right? And that's the first time I ever cried. I was like, I made it. I'm there. I got it here. And that was the first time I ever cried, because I got that happy tears, right? That was like the perfect ending of the Ninja Kid life. I'm a ninja man now, because I was like sitting there, you know, at my desk, at my computer. I turned on this game, and I was like, I'm working on a Turtles game. Now, this is being a ninja. I was like happy tears. I was like, I did it. I'm working on a ninja game. I'm a grown up. I went all my life. I wanted to be a ninja, and I wanted to, you know, be a martial artist and so on. I love these games. And here sitting here, and I'm working on a turtle game. And they're giving me that, you know, if you ever seen, you know, they give me that Turtles opening song, right? But like a new animation though, but they give me best that. And I'm just like, man, this is like, I was like, so that was the moment that finally got me. There wasn't this crazy coworker I had. It wasn't some weird boss that was, you know, physically abusive me, whatever. It was a turtle. It was like turtle, a ninja game. I was like, this feels right. And after that, and I've been happy again in my life with gaming. No, but that was very special, right? So yeah, obviously I love, you know, Michelangelo, of course, the best Turtles, right? Raphael was best in that game, that he was broken in that game, Yeah, I worked in two Turtles game, and Raphael was clearly the best character because in one game I worked in Turtles game, it was very Batman-like, Batman Arkham Asylum. You could counter people and so on, and counter was very powerful. And Raphael specialty was countering, so he could do double damage to counters, so you could just beat any boss in like a minute with him. So I mean, I wanted to play Michelangelo, but my gamer self was like, I have to play Raphael. He's just so good. So I played Raphael anyway. It's funny side story though. When I was in that game, it was so weird because the game was very hard actually. To some extent, it was quite hard. It wasn't like Dark Souls hard. Everything's Dark Souls, but it was pretty hard. And I remember one day though, it was so weird because we had a few people that couldn't beat second boss in the game. I'm laughing at it. They couldn't beat the boss in the game, and it was so pathetic and sad. And it was this kind of like, and I was like, "What are you doing here in the game company? You can't play the games." It was so weird. And we had one guy that was stuck on this second boss in the game. I won't say his name here. And yes, I hear this weird. God damn it. But anyway, yeah. It's so late here too, so I don't understand. Here it's like almost midnight. It's very late here, so I don't understand what they're. But anyway, this guy couldn't beat the game. Stuck on the second boss of the game. For 8 hours. The whole day he was stuck on this boss. The whole work day. He couldn't beat the boss. And I was like, should we have to change? And being working in this game, you're like, do I have to redo the boss? I'm like, hey boss, maybe the boss is too hard. The boss is in my manager, yeah. Like, manager, maybe the boss is too hard. Or maybe the guy's a moron. Because you're like, you don't know, honestly. When sometimes when you work on a product, right? It's not a big game, it can be an app, whatever, right? And you're like, this person doesn't get the app. No matter how I explain it, he doesn't get it. Is it the app's fault? Is it my guy that's wrong, right? Or is it him who's being a moron? Like sometimes you're like, I can't tell. He's been stuck doing the same thing for like a whole day. I don't understand how he's doing it. Yeah, like sometimes you get in the moment you're like, I don't understand. What is it? Me is wrong? Is he wrong? Is that thing wrong? That was that moment where I'm like, is the game too hard? Do we have to redo the game because I can beat the boss in like 2 minutes? So is it because I'm good or is he is really bad? So, but I remember that moment too though. Working with that, this obviously be another live stream talking more game industry, but I was like. I remember that moment too, where I was like, how can you be so bad? Like, I understand, how can you work in the industry, because you clearly like games, right? Because you work in the industry, you have this degree or something like that, right? To be here, and you still this bad. Like, I understand, and I'll say this thing, and I joked with him this day then, after we were going home, right? I was like, I'll give you a secret, man. The third boss is way harder. And that was true, because the third boss was hard, okay? Second boss was easy. The third boss was like freaking. It was Kirai, if you know the Turtle game. Yeah, the Kirai, right, the Shredder's daughter. She was really hard. She was like seriously hard. And that was like a optional boss. We fought her with other bosses at the same time. That was really hard too. Like Kirai and Shredder teaming up and so on. That was even harder, right? But it was like an optional, not a main story thing. But yeah, so I was telling him like, man, if you can't beat the second boss, we're gonna try to make you play the Kirai. You're gonna cry. You're gonna cry, man, when you meet Kirai. That's gonna be even worse. And it was too, so that was even said. But at that time then, when we tested him to play Kirai then the next day, we gave up. He was not a ninja kid, okay? I explained to him, play Raphael and you just counter her. You just immense damage. Just play Raphael and you just counter her. And he's like, okay, and he didn't do it. So he was not a good ninja. That guy could not play a ninja. And after like 4 hours, I was like, no, I can't sit with him. He's like, stop crying. I was like, yeah, do something else. This is pointless. We can't pay you to just die for like 12 hours straight. I was like, this is insane. It's like the worst ninja ever. That's the worst ninja ever. No, but he was so bad. He was insane. Jesus Christ. And I mean it too. For that matter though, I'll give you a side note here, which has nothing to do with ninja guys, but man, I worked on another game, right, for about 3 years. Released last year. And no one has ever beaten me in that game. On the office, like no one. There's one thing I'm telling you guys. You work in the game industry. I'll talk more about this in other videos, but it's like, I've been there and I'm like, how can no one ever beat me? Like, am I the best guy ever? Am I the most guy ever? Or is it you all bad? Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you wonder, it's like, am I awesome? Or are the other people not awesome? You get this moment sometimes in your life when you're like, either I am really good at this thing, like I'm really good because no one can beat me, or everyone is really bad. You know, the whole idea of that they're like you see two people so fighting right, and you're like they're either very strong with them or they're very weak. They're equally something, but it's like you know, if two people are doing something right and they're always getting like 50-50, right? You're like, are they equally? They're equal at least, but are they equally up here or are they equally down here, right? And that's how I felt working in the company. I was like, am I just the god of this thing, or are they all just really bad at it? It probably was both. No, but that was strange, man. That was strange. And even playing against players, though, I never lost with my favorite character. So that's true. Though I never lost a single game against anyone with my favorite hero in the game. So probably I am good too, though. But it's kind of strange, you know. But what annoyed me in that company was I would sit down and I would explain to people like, this is how you beat me. This is my weakness. I would explain to them like literally. Write to them. Here's a guide how to defeat me. This is my general weakness. And they will do it anyway. I'll be like, please play this character. I'm gonna play this character that's weak against that hero. So pick the hero. And they're like, okay. And then they will play the hero and they will still lose. And I'll be like, I don't understand this. But it's hard because you're working as a designer, right? And you want people to. This is not the video, but it's like sometimes it's really hard to balance games because you wonder like. Am I playing the character so good that they lose, or is the character overpowered, right? Because you can't decide if the thing is that as I have worked a lot with game design and like balance design, it's very important for me to know if a character is too strong or not, or too weak, right? But if I keep beating you anyway, I'm just like maybe the character is too strong, or maybe I'm just too good at the game, right? That's an actual issue I have a lot of times when I play games. I can't understand how people could lose to me when they're playing like the counter of my hero. Like, you're supposed to beat me now, but you still losing. I gave you the instruction, man, and you're still losing to me. I don't understand. But I had it in one game that I told people, I am gonna do X thing now, okay? So you know what I'm gonna do. And they still managed to lose. I'm like, but I'm gonna attack you with my punch now. So block it. And then how did you... It's like, how do you not do it? I'm like, yeah, man. Oh, whatever. I'm gonna leave it. You can spread to waifus. He for me, and I'm surprised that's your main girl. I mean, I like the smart girls, right? So when I watch a lot of animes, I love the nenis. If you back to new game here, back to video game anime. Something with Neni, with her smugness that I love. It's like, and she's all like, I like that. She's like, oh, I only work here to piss you off. Yeah, I love Neni. Right? So basically, Neni is the best friend of Aoba, right? The main girl in new game. And Nene starts working as a QA, right, at Aoba's company, used to like trick her and piss her off and make fun of her and so on. So he kind of did this to make her be happy. I love that. And she's gonna like, oh, I'm gonna surprise her and so on. I love Nene. And then she likes working there, so she becomes a game coder. Yeah, she goes to school to become a coder. So I want to be a serious developer, right? And then this other girl hates her because she's like nepotism, yeah, because she's angry with her, right, because she got the job clearly because she's friends with the other, females there. Right? She's angry at her because she's clearly not worthy of this job, right? But Nene is also actually better than the new girl at coding anyway. She beats her in coding anyway. But that's just beautiful because that's a thing too, right? Also not a video, but Jesus Christ, yes. In the industry, of course, there's a lot of nepotism. Most jobs are definitely hired between people, right? Like you know someone and. You hire someone's brother or someone's friend or something. That's very, very common. So I mean, she wasn't all wrong, that new girl in new game. I can't remember her name now actually. I just call her new girl. There are two new girls in new games and two, and I'm completely lost on their names now, honestly. Another girl is really good though, in the course, in new game is the tomboy, Hayasa, right? Yeah, the girl is like, I have my own katana at my office. I used to have it too, actually. Yeah, in my last office, I used to bring not just my katana. I was like, yeah, it's time to fight. Not just my katana, but I used to actually bring my handbow and some other stuff to the office because working on this game, right? And I was like, so back to being the ninja kid again here. I used to actually do it a lot then, so I would be like, okay, so you're gonna animate this. We had like a Naginata in the game, right? So Naginata cyborg and Naginata. So I was like, okay, yes, Naginata, he should run like this, right? He should fight like this, right? So I would actually bring my spear and so on to the office, and I will show the animators so on. This is how you fight with a sword. This is how you fight with a spear, and I will show them, and I will teach them to be like, this is how you know, use the weapons, right? So if you're gonna animate this thing in our game, it has to look realistic, right? So I have absolutely incorporated my Ninja Kid thing into my life, where I keep like my last title was, you know, UX design director and art director. So I'm like, this is how it should look, right? I'm like, this is how you should draw it. I'm like, no, you're fighting with this weapon and this weapon, right? Yeah, it's a good point, yeah. It's interesting girl because she was showing off everything, yeah. But yeah, you have two other girls in New Game, and they're kind of like, they don't have as much screen time, right, as Iowa and so on, but they are nice. And New Game is a really good anime. I love the opening and ending too. It's a really nice show there. It even has like a dark ending too in this season too. Yeah, it's like, what was happening? She betrayed them. But yeah, I wish there were more that shows. Like one anime I really love that comes back to me being my personality type that I really love, right, is of course Tonegawa, right? I keep saying it every now and then. You know, I like Kaji, right? Kaji is my favorite anime of all time. So I'm very biased. I love Kaji, like Kage and so on, right? And all the different, you know, those that authors works. So Tonegawa then is an anime, and I react to it when it's aired, right? So you can check it out. It's about an anime about this, like, you know, he's like a middle management yakuza, you know, Tonegawa. He's like a middle management guy at, you know, this big firm, right? That do bad stuff, but they're doing normal stuff too, right? And the comedy is that he is just, you know, how I say it? The comedy is that Tonegawa is trying to be a good manager. So I love Tonegawa because it reminds me so much of my life. He's like, he's having like a barbecue. He's like, how can I make the morale higher? I'm gonna host a barbecue, right? And then some guy's like, where's the beer? Oh, I forgot to buy beer. I need to buy beer. And it's like, where's the wine? Like, oh, god damn it. And it's like that kind of comedy, right? Man, I love Tonegawa, and Tonegawa is also animes. I wish there were more animes like that, honestly, right? Where they were less like new Game and Tonegawa and so on, like less, you know, people fighting dragons and so on, right? Even though it's cool to fight dragons, but I think where they have a lot of that, I think anime and manga and so on are really fun when they like Shirobako too. Yeah, like we're gonna be an anime company. How do you do this stuff, right? And so on. I think that is there's a lot of joy to have in those, you know, making characters that everyone can relate to. They're probably a little, you know, extreme, but they're kind of like, yeah, this seems kind of actually how it is in reality, right? And you can laugh at that. So yeah, I love those animes. You know, I always liked such of life animes, right? Where you just kind of do something. Like for example, this is we have the fishing anime, yeah, Hokukago Tobi, whatever it's called, yeah. They kind of like, you know, they have you have fishing night, or like Nonyon Biaru, where they're like, we're girls in like a village, we go to school, you know, and we kind of, I don't know, we hang out, something, you know. Those animes are fun, right? And they're really fun when they have interesting work, like New Game, like game industry. I actually am surprised that, you know, there's more animes like that, like High Score Girl, right? A very good anime, right? How about playing fighting games, right? Yeah, like I think there should be more animes than mangas like that when you're focusing on these quite the big industries, right? Gaming, right? There could be, I think especially in Japan, right? You have so much, how to say it? There's so much entwined stuff from the company, right? Like especially Square Enix, right? Where they have their own manga brands, right? And, you know, magazines, and they also own a lot of game magazine brands, right? So I'm surprised they aren't doing more of this. When they're like, hey, let's do like a anime and manga about doing. I mean, of course, there are like, you know, there's a Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, of course, doing Dragon Ball. He also did like, you know, Dragon Quest, right? He did art for that, and he also done some manga on that, for example. So that thing exists, but I mean more like not a manga on a game, but I mean like, you know, like New Game, where they actually just working with games, or like Shirobako, where they're working with anime. Right? So I'm surprised to have more of that. Yeah, me as the man of culture, Ninja Kid guy, I would love to see more of that. And one thing I am surprised, so don't steal my Sadino, don't steal my rip, I will come and get you. One thing I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet in the West more than in Japan is that there isn't a good game comedy show, okay? And I mean with that, it's like Do you have, we have Big Bang Theory, right? Very popular, nerdy, oh, we like Flash and Spider-Man, so on like that kind of stuff, right? And you have everything in between there. But I think, I know it exists, a few of these shows, but they've never been very good. What I think really should be done is basically like New Game, right? But the Western version, right? So, how it's working at the game company in, California, and everyone is crazy, yeah. Because while New Game is super nice, every girl is nice, they're friendly, one of them is evil though, but mom, she's kind of mean and trying to get Nina fired, right? But most of them are pretty nice, right? Most of them aren't like this, but they're pretty nice. So I think that it would be really fun, and I know people have tried, but they have really failed at it so far. Because I would love to see a comedy show, like I would write it myself, almost right. I would love to see a comedy show where it's like, hey guys, I'm the only normal guy working at the game company, and everyone else is insane. I would love to see that. Yeah, like people like The Office, right, or something like that, or Park Recreation, but it's like a game company instead, and they're all just insane. And someone is like me, they're like, I wanna be an idiot. Someone is crazy, someone is like never working, someone is late 20 hours a day, and never shows up, and someone is like going around in a Pikachu. I had a manager at a game company. I love this guy though, but he would walk around in a Pikachu suit. That's right. There's gonna be movies about this stuff. Yeah, the guy would walk around in like a Pikachu furry suit in the office, especially when he went to buy lunch, because it was fun to be, freak people out and so on. I mean, he's a great guy though. But I mean, those kind of people. I mean, am I the only one who would be great to have like a crazy TV show? Like, like I mentioned, like Poker Recreation and so on, but it's like a game company. And with New Game, then they're very cute and friendly. Here's like cutthroat, weird stuff instead. But yeah, I mean, Ko-chan isn't really betraying them in that sense. But it's kind of like, it surprised me in New Game, in the ending of New Game. I don't want to spoil too much here, but it's a surprising ending. I felt that she kind of, the sensei, their idol that she was idolizing, kind of left her behind in a way. It wasn't that, yeah, she kind of was like, I'm out of here. But yeah, any more questions? Because it's getting pretty late here now. I'm gonna probably make some food soon. People will be angry at me. But of course, I can rant for more hours. Obviously, I start this kind of rant when it's pretty late here. I can just keep ranting, right? Without being too concerned about what's gonna happen on the day. Yeah, I had a meeting before I started this. So after that meeting, I was like, oh no, I can just do what I want right today, basically. Not really, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I have so many weird ninja stories, like really weird. But I want to say them all now. I want to say them all now, right? The last thing is kind of funny. There's one thing I will say is kind of tricky. I don't know if you can say everything. Maybe it's gonna be a Twitch thing instead. I don't know if you can say everything. I mean, obviously I've been in a lot of fights, mainly from bullying, right? But I have been in so many fights, especially junior high school. But I don't know if we can talk about it here, honestly. Like, without, at least without getting, the yellow side. I don't know. It's I don't know. At least I can give details. Yeah, I can't give the details, right? Definitely not. I can't give the details of everyone, like, oh, I broke that arm or something. It happened to me. Well, I can tell you this story. That could be the last ninja story I get to today here, though. Back to the Sensei story. Okay, so I had my own dojo, right? I was trained at a dojo, okay, and I was gonna teach these. I should say kids, but teenagers, not that much younger than me. I was only 18, so this guy was like 16, 15 or so on. I think he was 16, this guy thinking about. So they weren't that much younger than me. They were like almost my age. But I was a pretty cool guy. I was a ninja guy at my age. But from a skill base at least, I was way better than them by far, right? So I was gonna train these guys in different weapons, basically, or tools, as you say them, tools. So I was gonna train them in these kind of tools, right? Basically, we already had bow staffs and yo staffs and so on, and hambos, right? And this is a really weird thing because I know this guy's brother is my age, and he was gonna be my student here. So I was a sensei, right? And he just went crazy. So this is like a ninja story you have nothing to do with, right? Don't be this guy. I won't say his name, of course, but don't be this guy. He just went crazy. Like, he started waving around. He had a staff, and he was just going crazy. He he was doing the whole, look at me, I'm a ninja, and he was doing this shit, right? And he was like, endangering all the other people there, right? And so on, right? So don't be that guy. Yeah, that's a tricky thing there. If you train people in a dojo, you have to like, here's a staff, here's a sword, yeah. But here's take my blade, yeah. That's a tricky thing, right? It's like a mental thing or something. When you just freak out. But I remember this very well, of course. It's never happened to me before or after. I've never seen anyone ever do that freak out thing that he did. I've seen other people, like once I had like Kajutsu, like a sword duel with one guy it was at a dojo, and he just went weird afterwards. So basically I beat a guy in a sword fight then, and I kind of cut him in the face a little bit, like a flesh wound kind of bit, because he didn't block it correctly. So he lost basically, right? And he surrendered, right? And then nothing happened, and then like 3 hours later he's like, I'm gonna F you, yeah. So afterwards he was like, I guess when he kind of cooled down, he's like, I'm gonna get revenge. Something stupid. So I've seen it happen, but never. But anyway, this guy then, that was the only guy I saw someone, just going flailing crazy in the dojo with being having something in his hands that could hurt someone. So that's the negative part, right, of being the ninja or the martial artist, right? Because you never know if someone has an actual mental issue or something, right? And they just lose it, right? They just lose it. It was really strange though, because I knew his brother and I talked to this guy before, right? And he was like fine the week before something, and suddenly he just went crazy this time. And it was like the first time I gave him a staff. It's like, he takes staff. He's like, oh, no, he went. So that was really weird. But anyway, what happened then? So I'm going to give you all the details right on this YouTube channel. But what happened was that he was flailing around. He was doing this shit basically. He was completely crazy, right? He was basically that, right? He was like, doing this shit, just kind of. And I was like, calm down, I'm trying to talk to him, right? I'm like, drop the stuff, I let it. I was like, drop it, stop moving, drop it, I was just trying to call him down, right? He didn't listen to me. Instead, he did the dumbest thing ever. Instead, he went after me instead. So when I was there trying to be like, calm down, man, stop doing this stuff, he's like, oh, you think you're a better ninja than me? So basically, he went the maximum route there. And he's like, you think you're a ninja? I'm a ninja. And he kind of attacked me with this tool then, right? He attacked me with this tool. And so I broke his arm. so that was like, could be a nice ending here after ninja moment. So he attacks me, and I am also wearing some stuff, right? So I have a tonfa, the tonfa, right? I have the arm blade. I have 2 tonfas over there, but like too late to get now. So I have a tonfa. A tonfa is basically, it's like a baton. You have it here, right? You kind of hold you. Too late to get it now. Basically, a tonfa is like this, right? You kind of have it here, and it protects your, your under your forearm right there. So it's kind of like that, right? Yeah, tonfa, like that, right? So you kind of hold it and you do this thing. So he attacks me with his weapon and with his tool, and I block it, right? Because I'm wearing a tonfa. So the tonfa. He was not a very good in this guy, because a tonfa is it's like an anti-sword weapon. Like a tonfa is used to be, it's a counter weapon against swords and all stuff like that. So I have 2 tonfas, one in my left hand and one in my right hand, right? Yeah. So I block it with my one hand, right? I step block it, right? And then I take my other tonfa and I swing it, right? And I hit him on the funny bone, so he drops his weapon right there. So that's what a tonfa is for. You can use to block someone, right? And like a sai is used to disarm people. So I block it, and then I went for his damn outside people here. But I went for his kind of like the elbow, the funny bone part there, and that part then of course basically you can't, if that takes too much damage, you lose the grip, right? So by doing that, he kind of lost he lost the weapon, right? The tool, he lost the tool. God damn it, come on. But anyway, he lost the tool then because I hit him on the elbow part there. So that can be my last point here of this ninja live stream here. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy that just loses it. And if you're gonna lose it, you should not lose it. I'm always like this in my personality. I'm like, well, that was pretty stupid. But it was even dumber attacking me with it. And it's even dumber because I was holding the counter tool to your tool. So I was even ready for it. Yeah, I was like, I mean, by accident, because I was gonna teach some guys the tonfa on the same time. So I was like, oh, you're coming at me, but I'm holding the anti-tool for your stuff. So I'm just like, yeah, whatever, you know. It's like, yeah. And the thing is too with those people, and I'll say from a martial arts standpoint, because he was attacking me, right? But he wasn't attacking me in an intelligent way. He wasn't, approaching me being like, I'm gonna cut you, right? He was kind of like, just doing this stuff, right? Kind of waving it like an anime, right? He was doing that. He would do that crap, right, basically. And in an anime or in like a kung fu movie, that looks cool, right? Because you're like, whoa, look at me, I'm doing this shit, yeah. But in reality, that's really stupid because, of course, every time you do this thing, you have a tempo, right? You have a tempo, yeah. If you do this shit, you're getting into, like, I can easily read your tempo, right? Okay, you're going this speed. Okay, now you're here, so it was very easy for me to be like, okay, swing, here comes again, the pendulum comes back, I block it, and I counter you, because because you have the exact same, you're attacking me, but you're attacking me in this kind of like swing pattern, right? So I was like, man, it was very easy to to defend myself, because I was like, this is really stupid. But yeah, that guy, don't be that guy. Don't be. If you're a ninja, you should be unpredictable. You don't want to be predictable. That's one thing, though. I mean, immediately, if you ever play these games, like Soul Calibur and so on, we play like Healy, they can do the spin thing. Like that's so unrealistic, right? As a weapon. I mean, what you do is that you do the spin thing on a distance, right? If you actually, like, say with nunchuck, right? You do this spinning thing, right, on a distance, right? You don't do this thing. It's very hard to sit down, but you don't do that shit next to someone. You do it like on a distance. So then when you approach them, they don't know if you're gonna come from the left or the right. I prefer the nunchuck, because if I'm doing this thing constantly, you don't know if I'm gonna attack you from the left hand or right hand, right? That's the main thing with nunchuck. You can attack from every angle, right? And it's hard to tell exactly when you're gonna attack me. So you can that, right? But you don't enter them with that. But you don't go in with them with the spinning thing. That's how you actually attack someone. He was trying to do that stuff though, and I was like, it doesn't work. Like, it's completely useless. But anyway, that's the ninja live stream. I think next stream I'm gonna talk about me being a teacher as age of 14. So I'm gonna call it like I was the real life Negima. This would be part 2, which is true. So as I mentioned earlier, give you quick steps here. My grandfather, math professor and history professor, teach me a lot of math, right? And I guess I'm pretty talented in math. So I was like 6-7 years ahead of math, right? And then of course, I did the math stuff, and I got to be a school teacher and so on. So I was 14, teaching 14-year-olds math. That also could be the reason why they bullied me. I'm not thinking about it, but but it's kind of funny. So that'll be next time. That'll be next time. This is gonna be a fun video. I was talking about some Swedish school system too. But yeah, today, that's why I'm doing today too, Thursday. And also why I feel I want to do these live streams, because I feel that a little bit of Corona, right? But I don't think there's that many animes this season, because I like to do this one live stream per day. But there's no anime I'm watching today. There's only one anime, which is of course I barely want to say it here, but it's a comedy anime. But that anime is like, you can't do it on YouTube, because then you get the hammer, right? So that is one show today, and that show is super, you get blocked immediately in best case. So I won't do the anime, and then I feel this season, like last season, I do feel there are less and less animes. Honestly, I guess I mentioned a little bit. That show is also hard. You can't talk much of either. It's almost like remove comment. It's almost like remove comment. Don't mention that show. It's like no. No, I'm joking with you. But that's also one of those shows that you don't talk about, right? Because then they go after you and so on. It's very unfortunate. There are a couple of shows, especially last season we had. It was the same last season. I'll say this last point here. Last season, same issue, right? With a princess show. What's that? A princess show, a Hime show. Same thing they do, right? Everyone that did any kind of video about the Hime show, they lost the channel. So crazy, right? Crazy, like, yeah. I know like 10 people, they had that show. Like, that show is like the ultimate poison, right? On YouTube, you immediately, right? And I know one guy that he didn't even show the show right. He was talking like I'm doing right now. Obviously, I have my galaxy in front of me, but he didn't do anything. He was talking. He didn't show anything. It was 0 second in all the videos. Like bam, 10, So it is just. It's a very unfortunate. The same thing with today. Today we have a comedy show, and this comedy show today is the same thing. If you talk about the show, if you show the show, they will like block the video or even worse, right, all the time. So it's very unfortunate. That's how it is on YouTube, and it's generally unfortunately with some Japanese companies, and so on, right? So the show you mentioned here today, today is the comedy show. My comedy, my romantic, that's the show today. That I know, like I think it was Memory and K. He did a video about it on his other channel. Same day, immediately, like immediately, removed the same day, in just like an hour or something, less than that. And he was like, "I'm doing it on my second channel because he didn't want to, get on his main channel." And immediately they went after his second channel. I was like, man, you have to write it, man. I delete that thing too. If you write the words, I delete it, because I'm telling you, it's not paranoia. I'm telling you, let's tell how it works, right? You know the coding, right? If you write the word, man, that means that now the word is in the search ending. God damn it! Stop writing the word. Stop writing the word. If you write the word, this is how a search engine code works, right? My cousin is actually a Google engineer, right? He's a senior programmer at YouTube. So they have to make it worse, man. Stop writing it. Stop writing it. You make it worse every time. This is even worse. Don't write their word. That's even worse, man. Don't write their word. Every time you write the word, I will have to remove it, because the search engine, if you like an SQA search, right, the way you do it, right, is that you do big search, right. So I work with human data engineering. That's my master's degree, right. I work with games, but my master's degree is in human data, human research on like a big data value, right. So if you do an SQL search or something like that, right, you search for like, okay, who has mentioned our anime with this thing, right, and if you mention the company name and so on, exactly. So, but if you talk about it, even me saying the word will in the transcript, YouTube will take that, right. So even saying the word makes it exactly Marvel, exactly, because they Marvel, Marvel. So even saying that makes you in the transcript be detected by the companies, right? That's how it works. If you write it, much more likely, right? It's the Marvel company, but not Marvel, but the other Marvel, and it is kind of weird, right? So they're kind of notorious for that. Another show that is even worse, that they are behind some percent, right, is Tokyo. That show about Tokyo people, it's even worse, right? If you talk about that show, you immediately I know so many people that have lost the channel, right, because they've had on talking about Tokyo, right. And there's also Marvel that is behind large extent of that, right, and so on. So that's one reason why, but it's a mix of that. And it's a mix of, the every anime being delayed and so on, right? Did you save Lindeness or record? That's an interesting thing. But anyway, so, this, I would say the last thing here. I do find it that there are less and less anime. I think this anime system is somewhat weak, okay? Like, I think honestly, do I love F-Zero? Yeah, I love F-Zero. Someone last yesterday, I was crying with Enkina. Sorry, I saw it comment earlier with Enkina, but yeah, Enkina, of course, best girl. When Enkina was like, I know, I'm gonna give you a hug here, a head pat. It was very beautiful. So, obviously, this season has some really good shows. F-Zero are by far the best show, of course. But it don't have that many shows, right? That would be a good other video. I worked at the company that did the exact same thing. They had all their. I worked at another company. They were very big in the MENA region, and all their basically all the customers like that the waifu stuff. Yeah, and then they banned all of that, kind of like Tumblr did, and then the company went under more or less. So yeah, it's really stupid being this like we can't have waifu stuff. Right? That is so stupid. It's one thing if you actually. It's one thing if you have a company, of course, like Nintendo, that is based on not being very waifu, right? And you make money from that. But if you have any company that has made most of your money being a waifu company, right? You can't suddenly stop being a waifu company. That won't work. That won't work. But I was saying, yeah. So my last point again, that I think it's a little strange there. I just read a lot of comments sometimes. And people are like, man, this season is so strong, right? It's such a strong anime season. And they're like, look at, I'm enjoying 3 shows. That's not me, but I mean, they say that. Sorry. But I mean, I hear people saying that, oh, they're enjoying like 3 shows. And that's why it's a good season. But for me, being an anime guy, you know me, I mean, yes, I love, Dragon Ball. My Academia, I have 3, My Academia, posters and so on. Todoroki, what it is. I mean, I love all the, My Academia, One Piece, of course. I'm a big One Piece fan, right? One Piece is my absolute favorite show, right? And so on, right? So I love these shonen shows. But for me, still anime is, it's Bunny Senpai, right? It's Dumbbell and so on. Yeah, it's these minor shows that I really love as well, right? So for me, like last summer, I loved last summer. We had Dr. Stone, we had Dumbbell, we had so many good shows. Last summer, it was like 20 shows. I was like, wow. Every day I was like 3, 4. I mean, it was heavy channel because I want to do, reviews and reactions. I was probably spending like at least 2 hours a day just doing like anime reactions because there's so much to watch. That for me was a strong season because I have 20 good animes. This season, I have like 7 good animes, right? For some people, that is a great season because they are like, we have 7 strong animes. But honestly, for me, I rather have 20, 30, mediocre stuff than like, honestly, probably more stuff to watch. That's also why I'm gonna start doing this kind of every week now because I do feel a little bored because I want to do stuff, right? The way I work as a person is that, I have to do something. I'm very, I'm addicted to industrial stuff. After work, I need to go home and do stuff, right? I'm the guy. I'm at home, I'm at work, I'm designing stuff, I'm working stuff, I'm coding stuff. Then I get home, I need to do more stuff because I'm crazy, so I need to work all the time. So now, last Thursday now, on Sunday and so on, for this season, I've been like, oh, nothing to do today. I need to figure out something new to do, So that's why I'm doing this every week now. I need to have something new to do, right? So that I'm crazy. I need to do something new, or new but something to do, right? So I feel this is a weak season, in my opinion, summer, probably because of Corona. But so I'm like, give me new stuff to watch. Right? But anyway, subscribe to tomorrow. Of course, we also Usagi-chan. I love my little, Sugoi Dekai. I think Usagi-chan is extra fun every week because it's so much hate on her from the West, basically on Twitter, right? I think it makes it super funny. I think it makes it funnier. I think it's hilarious reading these people complaining about her massive oppas. I think it's so funny. So that makes her funnier. That's tomorrow on course. Is Rent a Girlfriend tomorrow, which is fun. Simp King. Because on Saturday we have Mahou and so on. One Piece. I don't think it's a One Piece manga tomorrow. I think it's a break again. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure on that. We'll take a break again. I think so. It's like every second week there. But yeah, the rest is, and that's something I'm afraid of. I talk about on the channel, right? But I'm afraid of that. There's more and more of these people that are like, we have to ban anime, as mentioned earlier, Australia and so on. Hiyori is amazing. I love it. But that's like the best part, like last week of One Piece. That's my favorite part of Wano. Well, Hiyori and the next... I want to spoil too much, but there's a character in One Piece that is a new character, hasn't appeared in the anime yet, that's even better than Hiyori. So it's even a better character. And I'm not going to say what this character is, but I'm going to say that is my belief that is the next Straw Hat. Like, I genuinely believe that. So that character is even better. That's even better character than Hiyori. This next character is even better. I'm happy it's even better than Hiyori. But I love Hiyori too, and I think she is gonna marry Zoro. I think she is the end game of Zoro because she's the first woman that actually loves Zoro. She's the first woman. But the next character is even better. Yeah, the next character is even better than the order. The next character is like the best character Oda has done in the whole of Wano. That's the best Wano character by far. But this character is like introduced recently in the manga, so I'm actually surprised that the opening didn't have this character because the opening likes to spoil stuff, right? But yeah, Hiyori in One Piece there, she is of course a character that, as with Hancock, actually openly loves her man, right? So I think she will be the woman that actually will marry Zoro in the end of the whole storyline because she is an actual. Zoro has sort of flings with Perona and Tashigi and so on. They have some kind of flirt with Zoro, right? And even Vivi a bit and so on, but they never really like openly liked Zoro, right? Hiyori is like, I wanna marry you! Zoro Yoro! She's like, oh my god, Zoro Yoro muscle! I mean, she's like, oh my god, Zoro Yoro! Like, she's thirsty, that woman is thirsty, she wants some Zoro Yoro, yeah, she's really in love with Zoro Yoro, right? So, I genuinely think absolutely that Hiyori is his end girl wife. I mean, Zoro has Zoro has some secret harem, he has a lot of actually flirts, right? Like he lived with the ghost girl for 2 years. So he has a lot of like, girl-ish friends, right? But all of them has been like interested in him, but they've never been really into him, right? Where Hiyori is like, she is really into him. She really wants to marry him, and she's gonna give him a thing later on. But I think that Hiyori is gonna give him something later on. I want to spoil that, but she's gonna give him something later on. That's gonna be very important for Zoro, and it's gonna be like this moment. She's like even more like, take this thing. It's gonna like, this is gonna like, not only like it's important for you, but it can like there's a bond with her and Zoro, and she's kind of like helping him be getting stronger. So she's gonna teach him some moves, right? Basically, so it's gonna empower his samurai spirit, right? So basically, so there's like a thing there too. I suppose Perona, of course, helped him a lot, I guess, when he lost. But I mean, the other famous hasn't really made Zoro stronger. Like she's the first woman that makes him stronger, actually. But I leave it there without spoiling. But that's a big thing that actually empowers him to be a better swordsman too, which I think is important for Zoro. Right? So she's the first woman to really like heighten his level of sword skill. So that's also important, right? Why she will be his wife. But the next character, Wano still has like 20 other characters, and there's another woman for that matter, Black Maria. She's pretty hot too. Yeah, she's blonde hair now. The manga. Yeah, there's another woman coming later on. It's like a giantess or something. Yeah, man, Oda has like so many characters in Wano. So you got into One Piece now, but Oda has like, goddammit, Oda has like, I've never seen Oda actually do so many girls, right? Kaido actually has like 50 females. The other character has like, okay, Big Mom has no daughters, but the other pirates before Kaido and Big Mom, they had like one girl, The Flamingo had like Yora, he had like one woman, right, basically. And I guess the traitors, but yeah, the traitor girls. But he had like 3 girls, but 2 of them betrayed him, right? But Wano with Kaido has like a million furry girls, right? Kaido has the Gorilla Girl and Bath Girl, and like Kaido has so many females. He by far has the most female members. And even in the higher ranks, he has a lot of females. Not the highest rank, because those are the main 3 main boys, Mammoth Boy and so on. But the other characters in the lower ranks, so many girls. So Oda is really stepping up that gender ratio because, the other crews is like 1 out of 10 are girls, right? Suddenly, Kaido's like 1 out of 3, maybe. So huge amount of it. But yeah, Wano is a great arc. The only thing I like about Wano is so long, right? The Wano is great. I love Japan too, right? Love the history and culture, but it is endlessly long. That's the only thing that I feel is the only thing that is bad with Wano. It's like 200 chapters at least. It's not even over yet in the manga, right? It's like 50 more. I would guess, honestly, there's probably at least 1 more year in the manga before it finishes Wano. So the Wano is so long. It's easily be the longest arc in One Piece. That I think is the only issue because the pacing is even in the manga is a little bit. Please, Oda, push the next fight. He's like, no, we're gonna have 5 chapter with this new character. It's like, she needs a backstory, and he's in a backstory, and so, it really is the way he writes, right, and I love that, but in the same way, it's like, man, he's never finished anything. He's never gonna finish One Piece, because he keeps writing it forever. It's like, whatever, I digress. But yeah, I think about the fall preview too, that's a good point to think about, yeah. It was earlier. I'll think about that too later. Fall preview. I think it's probably wait 1 or 2 weeks. And then we're gonna do one other live stream, of course, as well for that matter. On our extra live stream, we talk about all the coming animes, which the biggest thing in my head is Attack on Titan, if it's gonna come or not, because that has probably been delayed, but haven't really announced it. I don't know really. But I think Attack on Titan was supposed to come next season. Will easily be the biggest thing next season, right? No, I read the manga though, so that was gonna happen, and I'm just like, man, that manga there, that's going crazy right now. But the beginning is very slow, in my opinion. So I'm interested to see that anime too, see how they're gonna, pace it better, or if people are gonna hate it because they're like, what's happening? They're gonna have the best main character and so on, yeah. I'll leave it, I don't wanna spoil, I'll leave it to that. Anyway, see you guys tomorrow with Usaka-chan first thing tomorrow, and then after, of course, Rent a Girlfriend, right? 2 nice dating animes. Yeah, and then we have the mom dating on Saturday. I say this thing, last word, as a man of culture, I'm really enjoying in Misfit at Demon School how it's all about their moms. It's like, I'm gonna make my mom a sword and fight with her. They're really into the mothers. Both the 2 main characters are like, I have to unite with my mom to be stronger or something. It's really weird, but I like it's a very vibe thing. They're like, let's team up with our moms, kind of like. So it's like an interesting anime.